Why is the DNC broke? There's some conspiracy theories out there. There's some real theories, and we're gonna get into it. I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves, and why don't you introduce yourself and then go ahead and give your intro as well, just to speed things along because I feel like this might be a contentious panel. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, Average Debate Enjoyer just moved to YouTube, so YouTube/Average Debate Enjoyer. Same on Twitter, and everything I say is right. Anyone disagrees with me, they're wrong by default. We should pretty much just wrap it up now. Have a good one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Grid.
That was actually kind of base, Tyler, except you're usually wrong, and whoever disagrees with you is absolutely right. However, I'm Grid One Motorsports. I represent the angry gun-toting, meat-eating fucking people, and I'm here to talk about why the DNC seems to be a little short on resources. I think they have a lot of cash, probably, but because we don't know where all the bodies are buried yet. But we'll find it, and other than that, we'll talk about this. We're gonna have some great times tonight.
Fantastic.
You can find me at an Unreasonable Man on YouTube and Twitch.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. VAR.
Yeah, I'm Jake Var. I run a YouTube channel called Project Veopod, so you can check that out on YouTube as well as Rumble, and you can find me on X and Instagram as Jake Var. Just type in my name, you'll get me there. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, non-smoker.
Hey, twitch.tv/non_smoker, radio host, communist. I hate the Democratic Party.
Nice. I feel like you'll get some agreement on the hate of the Democratic Party from a few people here. Socrates, go ahead.
To the point.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here today. I'm Socrates at Socrates TV on Twitch and on YouTube. YouTube, Real Socrates. Twitter, although I need to move over to Blue Sky. Yeah, I mean, wait, are we giving like a quick opening to the prompt as well? Okay. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. All the polling suggests that that Democratic voters want more progressive policies, and they think that the establishment wants more conservative policies. So the disconnect is there, and they're seeing Democrats not really fighting Trump the way they need to be. So it seems pretty straightforward. But it's fine. We're going to get a lot of right-wingers who hate the Democrats telling us that we need to be more conservative. So that'll
You need to be more conservative, bro.
Yeah. Good call.
And we're starting off great already. All right. And the soy pill.
Yeah, hey, what's up? I'm the Soy Pill. I joined because I heard that there's a bunch of people who think that the DNC isn't being funded because USAID cuts or some other crazy conspiracy. I thought I'd jump in because if you read 2 articles, you'll know that's not true, or just know that the funding is totally fine or in a totally fine spot. It's kind of interesting hearing all these crazy opinions, but yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, and actually that's a perfect segue into the opening of the topic. I think before I let you go at it, there have been some interesting conspiracy theories. Some of them are claiming that USA not funding the NGOs anymore is now causing the DNC to be broke. There's some more pertinent, I think, real world theories that are, I think going to come into play. Like we've heard people say that the approval rating's low. The topics, all these things.
On Twitch, mute yourself on.
Oh yeah. Sorry. And so there's a lot of these things I think that are going on. And yeah, rookie, it's my first time doing this. So there's a lot of these things going down. I think we're going to get into it. I'm pretty excited. What are y'all's reasons? What is the most prominent reason you think the DNC is hurting for funding right now? Because they went from record highs to record lows for funding.
I would go with, personally, 2 reasons. One, there's a civil war in the party after the lost election. The leftists are trying to seize power. The DNC, Democratic National Socialists, or whatever the fuck they're called, versus the establishment right now. And in that, what they're doing is pushing a Palestine narrative that is isolating the #1 donating constituent in the United States, accounting for 2% of the population, yet 10% of the individual political donations. The Jewish voter generally is about 80% in favor of Israel. So hearing things like globalize the Antifada coming out of candidates is not turning them on to wanting to donate for the party.
Yeah, that's a really strong point there. People really hate Zohran Mamdani. They were considering him an anti-Semite. So he's losing all support, not getting funding. Wait, sorry, is that true, or did he get the most funding anyone has ever gotten running for mayor?
We're not talking about him. We're talking about the party itself.
The party itself. Like, so who are you talking about then? Who's a candidate?
We're talking about the war chest for the 2 parties.
Who's a candidate? You said that candidates are saying stuff like about
He's one of the
Antifa.
candidates saying stuff, but
He got record
it's
funding
a
of anybody
microcosm
ever.
of the party as a whole, because when you have 29 senators voting to defund weapons to Israel, when you have people saying that it's a genocide and things of those nature, you're signaling to the most pro-Israel group that also does the most per donations per capita that you don't want their support, and they are turning on the party.
Not the most pro-Israel group. You have like Christian nationalists and evangelicals who love Israel, but who's this candidate who's saying that? So he's saying it and he's getting funding, but he's losing everybody else their funding. I don't quite get the.
Yes, because this is a very local district in New York City. It's a tiny, but by comparison to the rest
New York City doesn't have any Jews.
Guys, before we keep going deep into this, Tyler, do you have any evidence that there are donors that are withholding funding because of the narrative on Palestine?
I mean,
let me ask before you answer.
Like maybe one of them said it, or maybe a group of them said it.
Yes.
Let me just ask this real quick of the panel. Do we all agree that the DNC, like when we're talking about the funding, I do mean more like the war chest, but I do think Socrates brings up an interesting point here. If the specific candidates are getting the funding, doesn't matter. Do we all agree that the DNC right now, like it's established fact, they're hurting for funding for the first time in a while, like overall?
No, it's not an established fact. I can actually read you a quote from an article here. So I thought it was. I mean, obviously they're being outfunded by the Republican Party, but it turns out this is kind of precedent for parties that lose. People get disheartened, especially on the last campaign where they raised more money than in a really long time, and saw that go nowhere, and saw the directionless kind of DNC not do what they wanted with that money. But here's just a quote from CBS News. The Martin-led, so Ken Martin, head of the DNC, has succeeded, however, in raising more money than the National Party organization did at the same stage in 2017 after their first loss to Trump. And in a recent news release, the DNC shared its finding that contributions during the first 5 months of Martin's leadership are $2 to $1 raised in the months after the 2016 election cycle. So apparently we're doing better than the loss in 2016. Obviously we're hurting for funding insofar as Republicans have like 50 billion more, but this doesn't seem to be like some drastic dire situation. In fact, it's doing better than the recovery in 2017. So I thought this whole thing was kind of a weird prompt.
Cool. Yeah.
Did any of the other examples borrow money to pay for their campaigns after they lost?
Any examples? What are you talking
Like
about? Specific?
After 2020, the Republicans, did they borrow money after they lost the presidential cycle to fund the next upcoming campaigns like the DNC is discussing currently?
Potentially. I don't know if they have or didn't. I know we're doing that now. Yeah.
I can't see that.
I mean, hold on. I'm just asking because I honestly don't pay that much attention to the DNC and their wallet. I'm not a pocket watcher per se. But wasn't it like a real issue with the way Kamala's presidential campaign was funded, and it was short, and there were people that were owed money, and something like $1.6 billion was raised, but it was still short?
Yeah, it was $2 billion, and they were still in debt. So, especially because I think there was a couple of celebrities that weren't getting paid for their campaign.
Right. I remember that. Yeah. It was. They came forward after that and said, "Hey, we were promised
we're still owed
X amount of money. We've got a contract here. They haven't paid us." Would that be a strong enough signal for you, Soy Pill? I'm just curious.
That people weren't getting paid right away. No, I have no idea how the exact inner workings of who and what gets funded within these, but if they were like, deeply in debt, I think that would be more widely reported on. I think there were maybe some troubles with payments and now they've been resolved. But if you can show me,
what do we consider deeply in debt?
Like they have no money because
they
owe
if you don't
money.
$500,000.
Sorry, one more time.
I don't know who was trying to speak.
Great. You said, what would you consider in debt? Could you clarify?
Yeah, I was asking. I said, if it was $500,000, is that like significant?
$500 million? Yeah, if they were $500 million in debt, that would $500,000. No, that $500,000 would not even be like a blip on the map. That's less than 1%. Okay. Is that the reported amount they owed?
No, I have no idea. I'm just kind of curious where at what level. So does it need to be like $250 million?
So right now the coffers, as of, like the reporting says, they have like what, 50 million? Let me bring up the number right here.
50 million.
It was something like 50 million. I think the RNC.
I just looked it up. It's 50 million in debt after the election.
They're 50 million in debt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that they're
with unpaid. Yeah,
So I
post-election
see that the
period, nearly
DNC
50
has
million.
almost 40 million in like surplus right now. Now, if they owe 50 million, that means they're negative, 10, 13 million in debt or something. I don't see this debt number anywhere, but maybe you could show it to me. I don't think they're struggling for cash. They're raising cash at a faster rate, and I think it's midterms approach. They're going to be raising more cash. So
Yeah, I see 72 million in cash reserves, but it's like a lot less than the RNC.
What is the average? Do y'all have an average? Because everything I've seen says they're in debt.
I
That's a good
don't know
question.
that this
Don't
is
have
an
debt, they're doing that.
average. I don't know that this is an average, but so I have a chart. Let me I'm gonna
Just put it in the
post
group chat.
I'm gonna put I'm trying. Just give me a
Well,
second, man. I gotta
yeah, while you
click
do that,
button.
while you
could
do
you
that,
just
like,
link like the idea that they're in debt? I don't see that anywhere, especially in all the articles I was reading about them, like struggling compared to the RNC in terms
I
of
don't
raising
think
money.
it's
But
as-
like I just, where's this coming from?
Yeah, I mean, they have way more cash on hand than, like, okay, I'll put something in the chat. I mean, I'm seeing like 70 versus 30 million in like 2016 or
So
2018.
this is a chart that I just had generated, just based on the averages of what they've had over the past few years. So
Right.
that obviously it's what's reported. I don't know. We lost somebody.
We'll get it back. Anyway, just keep going.
Obviously I can't verify this because this is what is reported, not not what's real or what we might know is real. But it does show that there's a pretty steep decline in funding.
I don't.
What is
I don't know what
this?
this is.
This is
Did you-
funding in millions, DNC yearly funding, and there's first of all, there's no year for 2025, and the year's also not over yet. So I don't know why this would show anything.
Yeah, right. The last year mentioned is 2024,
Mm-hmm.
and then it
Where
goes
did you
past
get
that,
this?
so that would be.
He said he
I
generated
just generated it based
What
off
do
of. I just
Like,
basically
you asked an AI?
did a search. Yeah, I just did a search and said, hey,
Okay,
what
don't-
what are the averages, and then
that.
I threw it.
Don't use AI to like generate you like those are always wrong. Every time.
Well, I mean, the numbers are the numbers.
This is
correct?
like just
Okay.
as like a caution.
Well, I didn't use. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Well, I don't have the debt numbers. All right, so like in front of me, but I do have a lot of articles from like CNN, the New York Times that I can post that are saying that they are hurting for cash. There's cash crunch. There's the disparity of cash between the Republicans and the Dems. I see one here from the end of November saying, I mean, I don't know how this gets pretty old then, but they're saying they're worried about Harris's money intentions.
The numbers on this website do not show what his silly graph is. Let me see if I can bring this graph up.
So it seems like there are some sort of money problems, whether they're fundraising, whether they're debt, whether it's like a combination of like factors at different levels, like one candidate's debt and debt, the DNC doesn't want to cover it, or some kind of thing. So we can let's just lay this down. I think we can argue there is some kind of financial situation in the DNC that's not good. Why do we think that is? I guess is my question.
Just to rephrase that into exactly what's happening, the DNC has a lot of cash, a lot more than previous years, but less than the Republican National Convention. Right, we're all agreed on that. If you look at OpenSecrets.org,
do you guys see this?
put it in the chat. If you
I
just look at
don't know what this is. Just some random
like
graph he generated.
100 million
Like
cash on hand.
and then like if you look at the
2022,
actual
it's like
website,
87 million.
it's like 2022 is 1.5 billion, 2024 is 2 billion. Like it just doesn't even correlate to this at all. Like,
2014 is 20 million.
I don't know what he's doing.
Well,
So
it's
they're
the
like-
2025 numbers that we're talking about right now, not the election year numbers, because they spend a lot of money
Okay.
in elections. So
Wait, just real quick before we move on, Grid, like the stuff you shared, it doesn't even go to 2025, and the numbers that on the website don't match up to your graph. So I just like doesn't
I don't
make
have
any
the
sense.
number for 2025. I don't think it's been released.
No, but not even that. Like the total raised like from this website on OpenSecrets.org, it just doesn't even correlate to the graph at all. So like I don't know how the AI grabbed the data, but this is why you.
I'm not familiar with OpenSecrets.org, so I can't.
Did you not link?
don't
Oh, I'm
understand.
sorry, Socrates linked it. But regardless,
Right,
it looks like it does not match with the actual funding. So again, the funding is more than it would have been in 2017 at the same stage in the post-election, post-big loss. So you can kind of see that, I mean, if you go look at post-election loss for most parties, the funding's going to be lower. People are disheartened. People are looking for answers. It looks like they're recovering, and I can bet that we'll probably be back on track by midterms, especially with the way that the current admin is going, and people are going to get pissed off. Like,
yeah, they can make the recovery. I'm positive they can, but the question is actually, why are they having trouble now?
I just told you,
right?
because we
Did I read that
lost.
right?
Because we lost, and that's kind of a precedent of whenever you lose a big election, general election, people get really disheartened and they don't want to donate as much. DNC specifically, the leadership is having internal troubles with the David Hogg situation. The leftist infighting. He wants primary people, get more progressives up there, and their fight. They got him out through some stupid technicality that he wasn't a girl. Yeah, like there are problems. People are looking for leadership. There's obviously issues with the Democratic Party right now, but this is not like unprecedented in any way. This is like some historical recovery.
You do agree that they are in debt though right now, currently, right, Soypill?
I that might be true. I haven't seen that anywhere.
Okay.
Could you show me?
All right. Well,
Yeah,
because there's tons of articles on it.
Well, okay. Well, you post the articles in the group chat. Let me ask you this, Soy. So, okay, so you're against the perception that I put forth, the idea that I put forth, and it seems like some of the others on your side here might not be totally against that, totally with you on that. But since you are against this idea and you think there is recovery, all right, what are some of the problems and why are you hopeful they're going to change going into midterms? Like you mentioned,
yeah, it's what I just said. The leadership, like the people, or especially the bigger donors, are like, hey, like we're not sure how you're spending this money. I mean, I'm sure everyone here. Well, let me finish, because I think everyone here probably would agree that, like, spending however many millions on, like, what was it, Megan the Stallion probably wasn't the best use of campaign money in that, like, very short amount of time. Maybe should have had more ads. But yeah, I mean, obviously primarying people, or at the very least, like, putting people into leadership that are giving a coherent, structured message going forward. And right now, Chuck Schumer doesn't have that. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have that. And, the other up and coming people, Slotkin, are not doing what the people want. So that's why, you look at people like Ro Khanna and all these other people that are kind of like the up and comers.
Well,
they're not the young people, but they actually have like a coherent message. So
yeah, but who do you think is who would your ideal leadership be? Like, just if you were going to put forth something, just, I don't know, for funsies.
Ideal? I mean, again, like anyone who has a coherent message and a platform. Ro Khanna, I'm biased because I was just like with him for like a month, but it's not.
Yeah, be biased. We like bias here.
What about Fetterman?
Maybe if he has a stroke and changes party like alignment a little bit more.
It flips like every stroke. I don't know.
Yeah. He needs a couple more to really get to where I need him to be.
That's a really sad situation.
Yeah. I know you like Fetterman. Sorry, Tyler.
That's rough. Do you think maybe that Soros is deciding to spend his money infiltrating the Republican Party or the Libertarians or whatever, and is not supporting the Democrats in the same way? Maybe the big donors like that have just decided to change tactics. I know that Soros made a hold on. I wasn't done. I know that Soros made a public statement about how it was cheaper for him to buy a dozen or whatever prosecutors or state attorneys who actually interpret the law versus one president. So maybe they just changed their alignment. I don't know.
Wait, as crazy as that might sound, Tease, it's funny because like Soros is the whole Soros conspiracies are silly, but the idea that big donors aren't giving as much money, that is true to my knowledge. Big donor, like 6-7 figure donors, are not donating right now. It might pick up again. Next year probably, but in terms of like infiltrating the RNC to subvert it, I hey, hit me with the source. I'll read it. But you're just speculating. What do you think? Like, wait? I do want to ask actually. What do you think? Like, who George Soros is, and like, what's his agenda? What does he want?
I have no fucking clue, and I don't care. All I know is that I was just reading I mean, for the purpose of this argument, it's irrelevant.
If the conspiracy is to be believed,
the Soros statement that he's attempting to infiltrate or influence and I'm using the word infiltrate. I believe that might have been in a New York Times article, but I'm not going to bother to go find it. You don't have to believe me on it. I don't care.
I mean, okay. What you said is that the money could be maybe better spent to effectively promote progressive causes, which that could be true. Well, that's the question of tactics. And this has nothing to do with alignment.
A couple of years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, Soros said that he wasn't funding the presidential election because it was a waste of money and his money was spent better locally.
Oakley,
on
yeah,
That makes
buying.
sense.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
Yeah,
sense.
didn't he invest like so many billions of dollars through local elections?
Yeah.
That's all
He
right.
went out
That's
and
how
he
he built a lot of the
basically was
Democratic base.
yeah, he
Well,
was
okay.
trying to buy the buy or not buy, but he was
Well,
promoting
I mean,
the
what do y'all say the
prosecution.
argument is here, though? Just so I'm clear, because I'm
I
not
would
really a
say
conspiracy theorist, but I like. Are you arguing? Is what you're saying right now that the reason is Soros is not giving the money to the Dems? He's like doing a new plan. Is that the argument that you're making? I'm having a little trouble following this.
what it started at is a good point. I think it's the party civil war
I
with
just
David Hogg and things like that. Donors don't know what faction of the party is going to win out.
well,
You talking
and
to
which
me?
faction should win out?
Were you
Personally,
talking to
I'm
me, Giz?
biased
I'm sorry.
toward
Yeah, I
Bangers
don't really
Liberal.
understand. Well, it's two things. I want to talk about that, but let's come back to that. I do when you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Is that what you're the point that you're making, Grid? About the Soros thing? Like, is that you
Yeah, I
saying he's
just think
not
that
funding the Dems and now he's funding like
they may
other
not
groups?
be. Yeah, they may be funding different opposition groups. They may be funding independents more, that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm just the Soros thing is just something that's kind of documented with the statement that he's no longer interested in backing presidential or even congressional seats. He's not spending the money there. He's spending it locally,
So
and so that's taking money away from the actual DNC, right? Because he can just spend that with their
okay,
local
Could you
offices.
well
quantify
let's
that, Grid? Do you think it's tens of millions? Do you think it's billions? Like this
yeah,
is like
I
a
do want to answer your
completely
question.
like, don't get me wrong, I know that he's trying to probably focus on smaller elections, but this is just like completely wild, like, shot in the dark kind of speculation. Like if you have some
I'm not speculating. He literally said that. I'm not speculating.
sure, but
He
if this is
said,
the reason the DNC is struggling for funding,
I
that's a
said
very
it's
different.
a reason. I don't.
Okay,
I mean, I
Well,
think
Yeah,
it's
but
no,
something
I
that
haven't
I'll
given
get
to it,
them
but
this year. That's a reason. That's like the $10 I would have given that I gave last year. So
Jay, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say, I think Soy Pill makes a good point about, after they lost the election, essentially in a landslide, it would make sense that a lot of these people kind of have to back off on that. But then going to Grid's and Tyler's point here is that how the Democratic Party is kind of a bit divided right now between the communist movement that's happening in New York, along with like Democrat moderates. They don't even know who the leaders is. I wanted to ask you guys, can I ask you, who's the leader of the Democratic Party at this point? Who are you guys going to put up? Because from what I've seen, they've been talking about AOC. They've been talking about Gavin Newsom. Now, these are two different ideals here. Like, well, who is the leader of the Democratic
Just
Party?
just to clarify, are you talking about, when you're saying leader, are you talking about like who
Who's
they're
the
going to
main
put up as a
contestant? Yeah.
presidential candidate, or are you talking about
Sure.
the kind of like thought leader?
Like, who would be?
Those are
Yeah. As
exactly the
far,
same.
let's do it with both. Who's the
Yeah,
actual
both.
thought leader, and who do you think they're going to put up in 2028 against probably more than likely JD Vance?
Sure.
well,
I mean,
Hold on there. I don't think JD Vance wins the primary personally, but we're
so-
getting.
I don't know who they're going to put up against, but
Yeah,
I
that's a
want to
different
ask.
topic for
Rubio!
another time.
Yeah, it's a different topic. It's a different
Go,
topic.
yeah,
But-
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
But I do want to ask, like, who is the
Sorry.
leader at this point, the thought leader, and who do you think is going to be put up in 2028 against the Republicans? Like, who do they go for? Like, who do they donate to? Because I don't even know. I don't
Sure.
even know who's y'all's
That's a-
leader is.
And who do
that's a
y'all
great
want?
question.
And who do y'all want?
Yeah, I mean, so we can look at people that are really actually connecting with voters. So all the polling suggests that Democratic voters want a more progressive
Progressive person.
policy, more progressive person. And the people that are connecting really well are people like Zoran Mamdani, like Kat Abou-Gazela, David Hogg,
AOC.
like AOC, like Bernie Sanders. Those are the
Sure.
people who are actually speaking directly to the things that are happening now, or pushing for things that help regular working all people. And at the same time, the polling suggests that they feel like the establishment or the DNC is kind of in opposition to a lot of those things, is in opposition to universal health care, job guarantees, things like that. And then just to answer in terms of who might get put up as like a presidential candidate, I think Pete Buttigieg is pretty
Pete-
like.
You really think Pete Buttigieg should? I don't think he has a
He's-
shot, man. If they're going to put him up there,
It's like, who is it? It's like, it's him, it's Gavin Newsom. I actually
I
don't
think
even know
Gavin
who
Newsom has
else,
more of a
like-
shot because Gavin's a lot more charming. He could speak. He speaks very well. He's a better, debater on stage.
He's more
kind of
he's
reminds me of a Barack Obama-ish guy.
I don't know if he's a little bit more hot-headed maybe than Obama ever was. He's contentious. He's a fighter. I mean, people like that. I don't know.
He's got a lot of baggage from California. Anyone speculating on who's going to be the primary front runner in 2028 is just like shooting in the dark again. It's like you have no idea until like 2 or 3 years. But like the whole point of the first.
Because I want to go to Soy Pill, and I want to go to Tyler with this question, right? Because we came to the Civil War topic a little bit earlier than I was expected to in this conversation. But all right, so. Yeah, I mean, we had a MAGA Civil War like last week. Movie. Yeah, I'm saying. Well, but like, let me ask you this. So like, I was kind of asking that to you earlier. I agree with you. You're speculating who's going to win 2028 primary. Like now is ridiculous. For either side. But I do want to know, like, who do you think is the leadership, or who do you think, like, what is the message? Like, do you think y'all should go more progressive, or do you think, like, what I know Tyler's going to be the opposite side and say y'all should go more center? What do you think is the solution here? And then we'll go to Socrates as well. I know, like, from my lefties here. What are y'all's prescriptions?
Yeah, no, obviously, I mean, you can see that there are hyper-progressive candidates winning, like Mamdani. The thing is, though, this is like, this is to Tyler's point, this is localized, and what I think is going to happen, especially running around with the campaign with Ro Khanna and it was Clyburn and a bunch of other people in South Carolina, I think there's going to be a pretty major toning down of a lot of the more what people might call woke messaging, not because they don't want to support it, but because they know that people see it and they get really poisoned. If you go to the, all these Baptist churches I was going to, people were not so much of a fan of the LGBTQ rhetoric, which means instead of throwing trans people under the bus, what's probably going to happen is they're going to switch to a more populist messaging so they can lift those people up without specifically calling them out and poisoning the well and letting the right run rampant with it. So I don't know if that means they're going to be more moderate. They might actually be able to do that with more populist takes, but I know for a fact they're probably going to shift a lot of the messaging that you might have seen from like 2020 to 2024. I don't think you're going to see nearly so many marginalized people front and centered, which is not great, but that, if you want to call that a moderate shift, I think they might do that. In terms of who's it going to be,
Donnie a progressive? He's a communist,
populist, sock dem, whatever you want to call him.
I think a progressive. Yeah, he's pretty progressive.
You said progressive.
Well,
you said progressive.
What would you call him? A communist? Why is he a communist?
Can we talk about this?
Because he says he's a communist. Didn't he say he's a communist?
Did he say that?
I believe he did.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not.
I've definitely heard him call himself a socialist.
I know Jake called him a communist.
I want to go to Tyler, and then
I never called him a communist. I wouldn't think that he would be, but he definitely did call himself a socialist.
We can listen. I don't want a definition debate with Donnie right now. I want to get through this real quick, and then we can move on to the next thing.
He said, "quote No, I am not a communist."
Okay,
that's exactly what a communist would say.
That's what a communist would say.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly what a communist would say.
So let's go to Tyler.
Socialist.
Let's go to Tyler and Socrates, and then I'll come to the conservative side. But because I want to hear, like, I know he's got the opposite position of what Soy Pill said. So let's go to him, and then we'll go to Socrates. Is there? Here.
Right now, looking at the polling out of the second quarter of 2025, Kamala Harris, out of the top 7 people, is the only one besides Elizabeth Warren eligible to run. I could see Harris or Warren being a shoo-in, but that would be like looking at Jeb Bush back in 2015. I could easily see someone like Fetterman, Shapiro, or what's her name, Gretchen Whitmer, walking into that spot and doing a pretty solid job because they need to win the Rust Belt. Those Rust Belt states are pivotal for them to win the election. Getting somebody from the Rust Belt that understands it is probably their best chance of taking those. I would think that's the best. They already have, like, the idea that they need to go more further to the left and adopt a lot of unpopular policies. I can name 4 I have written down here. Their stance on illegal immigration. There's multiple sanctuary states. Their stance on trans. There's multiple trans sanctuary cities and states now. Their stances on defund the police. Right now, Mamdani is for defund the police. Several cities have done it and still say they're behind it. The DSA is also super behind it. And the last one being Palestine, which is a little different because that movement, unlike the rest, started out extremely unpopular and is now growing in support versus the other ones that started out super popular and shrinking in support. So I could see that one actually not actually reaching its cap yet. We could see that one being But I'm looking here right now. Stacey Abrams is more popular than AOC. And she is an election denier, like flat out. So I don't see any progressives in the top 10. I see Al Gore, Tim Walz, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Elizabeth Warren. I think they're going to get a moderate. They cannot get progressive.
Tyler, I think those numbers have changed. I remember when the election first happened and they lost the election. I remember AOC was sitting at the top of that list.
I saw one poll
I
was at 42%. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think 6 months later, I'm pretty sure that the more moderate Democrats have kind of reached in. So I could believe the stats now, but I do remember recalling AOC being very much popular, along with some other progressives like Bernie. So I'm sure they've lost popularity for the past 6 months.
To be clear, Tyler, when I say move left, I don't mean most of those things you just brought up. I mean defund the police. Even Mamdani isn't like, hey, let's get rid of the police. He once talked about the idea of, by the way, this is why I think it's a terrible slogan, but moving funding from the like $1 billion NYCPD to like some more social programs, which is a very different concept.
Social workers.
But
That's
yeah.
what defund the police is.
Well, some people, when they say defund the police, they mean get rid of the police. So you capture
That's
all of those
abolish the
people.
police.
Yeah.
Well, if you defund the
abolish
police,
the police.
yeah,
I'm
but
aware of that, but that's what people perceive it as. But the like all the other stuff of like, hey, the Palestine stuff. First of all, like I think right now Palestine, like you said, movement is polling pro-Palestine, not pro-Israel stuff. This isn't really what I mean by they're going to move more left. I mean they're going to move to messaging that is more encompassing of everyone. It's like, hey, just talk jobs, just talk economy. They're not going to be focusing as much on marginalized groups because they realize that that might hurt their chances, like you said, in the Rust Belt. But that's not, I don't know if that counts as moving moderate.
Well, let me go to Socrates. What do you think they should do? So he obviously wants to go more moderate, so always a little further. Where do you fall on this? What do you think the solution is here? What do you think is a better option?
Yeah, I mean, first, I do just have to say, Tyler, the things that you're talking about are like a right-winger's view of what left policy is. There's only one city that's ever defunded the police. That's Camden, New Jersey. You can look into it. It's a pretty interesting.
I've looked
interesting
into it.
case.
It's a lot. LA was one of the cities that did.
They
And then
defunded the police. They got rid
Oakland.
of their police.
That's not defunding the police, is cutting the police budget to reallocate resources to social workers. It doesn't mean getting rid of the police. That's abolished.
How much did they reduce from the previous year?
Did
Did they maintain or increase rather than a massive increase? Or
they cut
like,
8 figures from the police budget in the next year and then refunded it a couple of years later when their crime spiked. And they
Okay.
did not ever hit the same amount of officers since they defunded.
okay. Well, those are like
Oakland's
those are more
less defunded.
local policies, and those are just not. Again, those are just not things that people are talking about or doing like.
That was
on
a big
on
movement,
broad
though.
scale.
Abortion's a local policy thing
Yeah.
now, and people talk about that all the time. Like local policies are a big deal. Almost all the
Yeah.
trans bathroom bills are all local
Abortion
policies. as well.
Abortion was just decided by the Supreme Court. No,
Yeah, but
Wasn't
now
that-
it's a local thing, and it was the local
okay.
thing in the
Okay,
last
that
election.
was the Supreme Court. That's kind of a federal thing, right?
I'm just saying, local. There is no local anymore with the internet. Small anecdote: Roy Moore represented the entire Republican Party, and the whole party had to denounce him and take his funding away and kick him out of his seat in order to.
Why did they denounce him?
I don't remember. Wasn't it
You
he
don't
tried to
remember?
beat a 17-year-old when he was 30 or something like that?
Oh, you're minimizing that. Okay, that's not a big deal.
I don't remember. I
No,
don't
he just doesn't
But the
remember.
whole
I think.
party, it's a
Okay.
local thing, and the whole party nationally had to go
Yeah.
against. There's a whole lot
It
of
would suck for the whole
local
Republican
things.
Party to have to disown someone just because they're a pedophile. That would.
Yeah,
that's-
it's not
that'd be
a
rough.
good precedent they set with Roy Moore now that their leader is being.
I don't believe in conspiracy
Yeah,
theories.
but
The QAnon thing,
Donald Trump being a pedophile is not QAnon.
it's QAnon.
That's a local issue. Okay, that was just one island. Okay, guys. And the
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
another piece is that, yeah. I'll just try to quickly get through these, and we can do some back and forth after. But the other
Go.
thing is like having lots of illegal immigration. This is not something that any Democrat is ever talking about being for. Kamala was running on like a pretty strict immigration.
Wait, but the Democrats would incentivize a lot of the illegal immigrants to come in. Like Biden literally had 10 million encounters at the border. To where compared to Trump, there's a lot of deterrence. So this is why it shot all the way down to 7,000 encounters a month.
2 months in a row where no undocumented were released.
So obviously the Democrats, when you talk about how like you know that
this is
the open
obviously not
border,
true, right?
that
We had
the
a
open border.
that Trump shot down. That was going to put a lot more agents at the border. I don't know what
Dude,
like.
bro, hold on, but that
incentives you're
bill
talking
happened in
about.
the middle of 2024. It was already like three and a half years worth of of
Yeah.
200,000 per month at the border, man. It's
Okay,
not
well,
like
we're talking about right now, and you're talking about last year and saying that that's like
well,
not
yeah, because that's what
even
the
in scope.
Democrats
I don't
did.
know
I'm
what-
saying that they were giving incentives, right,
Yeah.
with state
What
funded.
incentives?
So
What
wait,
incentives
Socrates,
are illegal
to,
immigration?
to their credit, regardless of the actual policies, which no one on the right gives a shit about, the perception of the left is that they're way too soft on immigration. And I think the left will probably pivot to be like, no, we really need to enforce this because they lost on that issue.
Sure.
But yeah, they aren't soft on
Trump is doing
immigration.
really poorly on immigration polling, but
Yeah, for other reasons.
I am bringing up contentious stuff, but I do just want to like at least get on the record of opinion for these different things. And the other thing being like trans sanctuaries or whatever. Again, Kamala literally didn't talk about this at all. We are trying to promote civil rights, but again, this is kind of like a weird thing because Democrats really aren't pushing any bills. I know you said it's not about the bills, it's just about like culture war, talking point stuff, whatever, right? But Democrats aren't really pushing a lot of bills about this. It's the Republicans who are spending all of their time focusing on attacking trans people. That's the main part.
If it's a waste of time and nobody cares and it's not a big deal, why not just revert back to how it was 10 years ago? Then this is a gaslighting talking point. Kamala Harris not mentioning trans people for 2 months when it was her 15-year thing she brought up all the damn time. Nobody believed her. It was part of the
reverting back.
Hold on. We let you get your whole thing out before.
No, you interrupted me.
No, I waited till you were done. So Kamala Harris was also on record lying about Biden's age 15 times and going after Robert Hur, who was correct. Yes, about Biden's age issue.
Okay, what is this?
About him being non-cognitive. This has to do with the trust issue of the party. If she stopped talking about something she was very adamant about for years and years, a decade plus, and for 2 months, nobody believed her. She didn't denounce it. She didn't say she was going to stop doing anything. She just didn't bring it up again.
Hold on. Let Socrates finish this point, and then I'm gonna open it up again after. I want to hear
this, but
go ahead, Socrates. Finish your point out.
To talk about some actual leftist policies that are actually being pushed for, that are very, very popular, it's things like ending cash bail, providing generic drug alternatives, job guarantees, public internet, universal health care. Things like this. These are things that impact like everybody everywhere, and these are the things that are leftist and are pretty popular, and these are the things that politicians should be pushing for. You know, on
public internet.
On
they should be pushing for public internet. That's instead of focusing on the border.
What's the question?
That they should be focusing on public internet. That's a policy that is very more popular and more important than the border.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
It is.
It's not. It's not right now. What's your question?
This is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So public internet. When you say that, like internet everywhere that's free, what do you mean public internet? Internet, like free internet? What do you mean by that?
Sure. I mean, it should be a utility. It should be available for everybody. I don't know why not. Do you love Comcast?
Okay.
Like, what's the?
Yeah, I don't think internet is a human right or a thing that should be free, bro. But I do believe that
past each other a little bit.
Yeah,
I do think.
And first of all, we could do two things, right? We could do internet on the border, right? Like, there's no, I don't know, those are not directly in conflict. I don't get the, like,
because my question was
jobs laying wire.
Right.
If you have more public internet, more immigrants will cross the border to get free internet, actually. So those are in conflict. Socrates, I hope you know that.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, they already get free. Yeah, they get free tuition and home care, right? But okay. Yeah, I think that would be an issue. I think a lot of those incentives are very unpopular, even amongst moderate left-wing people.
Sorry, when you say incentive, you're talking.
Yeah, like tuition, healthcare. What do you call it? Housing. Healthcare, yeah, housing assistance.
Healthcare is unpopular,
and these are all for illegals.
What?
For illegals. Most people don't.
What is
he was just talking about policies that left people should promote. This has nothing to do with giving it to illegals.
Population of the U.S. right now? Do you think?
I can't hear you, bro. Say that again.
What percent of the population of the U.S. right now do you think are illegal immigrants? Like 50%, 70%, 90%?
No, not 50.
Hold on.
No. If I had to guess, there's probably about 25 to 30 illegal immigrants here in this country right now.
Let me just. Okay, listen. I don't know. Listen, as much as I like talking about immigration, we know that's my favorite topic. We're not doing the immigration debate.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just kind of shocked he wants free internet is more important than the border, but okay.
He didn't say that.
It's just wild to me. That's all, Gibbs. But go on.
So no, let me just come back to
We
the
can
internet
talk
thing.
about it. We should, but
Sure, we can talk about the internet thing in this context. Was it? Maybe I'm wrong, but Jon Stewart. What was that video Jon Stewart just did recently about the program that had all these hoops that had to go through, and it was like 19 things. Wasn't that internet, or was that for like public funding for like maybe?
sure.
I think it
So
was internet, right? Like
yeah,
that seemed
there's a
like
lot of
that
Green New
seems
Deal
like
things.
okay, yeah. So I guess with
I
something
can
like
speak to
that,
this point.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let me just put this out here. My
Please.
thoughts on that are is like it seems like even when the Dems are doing something that's popular like internet, like I won't listen. I won't lie. I'm not in favor of universal health care. I'm not in favor of universal like internet. Like I don't want that myself. But if I could take that, and I would say even a lot of people that voted Republican would be okay with that, like as like centrist kind of thing. They would be like, yeah, why not? We're America. We should all have this shit, right? And I can see people, and I can even be sympathetic to that. So yeah, I think those are popular things. Why is it though, when there is something popular like free internet, that they put all these extra steps and just like shoot themselves in the foot? What is your thoughts?
I can answer very, very directly, which is this was part of like the very watered down Green New Deal, or the infrastructure package that Biden pushed forward, which I think is like the biggest infrastructure bill maybe that we've ever had. It created a lot of jobs. It did do a lot of good, but it was a compromise with Republicans who wanted to put all of these regulations in place that would slow it down, that make it take forever. And so that's why those things exist. You can trace the lineage of those things being introduced into the bill. Those weren't like leftist things like, let's negotiate forever on these contracts, or, we can look at the details of what those things were that slowed it down. But those were based on compromises with the Republican Party. And this is where people like Ezra Klein, maybe that was the conversation we're talking about when he came on, Jon Stewart. We're talking for a while about this.
I mean, I think it was Jon Stewart on somebody else's show. I think.
Okay.
It was like a 2-hour video. I can find it if y'all need to.
Yeah. But I mean, these are things. So things like, and again, this is just to be clear, this is not free internet. Everybody literally gets internet for free, but this is a public option. So you don't have to go to like a monopoly. I've lived in places where it's literally there's only one option for internet inside the city. These are things that generally like rural people want that may have no option, or there's only one option, so it's a monopoly and it sucks.
Yeah, it's just like the universal postage guarantee. It's just the idea that you always have an option to mail a letter. Like
that's a very interesting thing that you said there. The rural people, may want something other than the internet that's offered. But if that's the case, why is it that a lot, and probably more than I am aware of the rural people are going to co-ops? I actually pay a co-op. And it's not regulated by obviously there's state regulations, but it's not funded or
no shut. This guy
part of
who
the
calls
state government
Mamdani
in
a
any way,
communist is part of a
for
co-op.
my
Like
electricity.
what?
It's a provider co-op.
Yeah, it's
yeah. No, that's a wonderful option. I have like a
why would we need
a
the
rural area
government
and
to-
kind of like set up something similar? That's a great option. I mean, any kind of like communist socialist programs like that, I think could be very effective because there's no overhead of somebody like skimming off the top. You're just getting the utility that you need, and you don't have to have the state involved. Like, I think that's a great option.
Yeah, if it exists.
Organize and do that. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great option. I think if we could promote and like, if there was a way for those people, so you said that was you.
Well, Socrates, to be
area?
clear,
Yeah,
like the
also
problem.
that's private ownership. That's not necessarily communist or socialist. But
You said it's a
at
co-op.
any rate, how
So
how does any of this affect the way the funding for the DNC is going down?
Okay,
Can
so
we circle back to the
yeah.
topic?
Let's square the circle. The idea is that all parties are going to struggle with funding post-election loss, and that they need a coherent message. And part of the reason that big donors are not donating, and they're like, "Hey, we don't know what you're going to do with our money." There is a little bit of infighting, and so that's why we're on the what should we be promoting? And that's why Socrates brought up, "Hey, we need more messages about things that lift everyone up, like public internet, like Medicare, like jobs, like the economy," because that's going to be a more coherent message.
You need to appeal to your base, basically. What you're saying is you need to appeal to the base.
Well, if that's
here.
Well, okay, so let's talk about. So, what is the base? It seems like two of y'all are saying y'all need to go more left. Would that be a fair assessment?
Well, to be clear, I don't think what that and even what Socrates is saying is necessarily more left. What it is a a more shotgun approach of how do we just be more generic,
Okay.
because clearly that's working for Trump. You don't really have to promise anything. You just have to say it will happen and not really mention any specifics, and it works.
That's a good tactic, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
unfortunately
mass
a very good
deportations,
tactic.
and then it happens.
Well, that's interesting.
Golden
It's
Dome.
interesting you say that. I saw
Yeah, that's
someone
happening.
say this the other day, and they're like, the reason why they're not going to be able to replicate Trump in this, and tell me if you agree with this, is Trump has like 20, 30 years of on television persona, right? And he has evidences of failures, evidences of successes, but he's like kind of like hunk around. And it's kind of like, this is the danger with ISIS. The longer they exist, the more legitimacy they have. So Trump's got this like air of legitimacy to like a certain group, like, like to a lot of people, they think, okay, he's legitimate. And it's compare that to like he's a
ISIS.
brand.
Yeah, he's
that's
a little
exactly.
like ISIS,
Sure,
I guess.
sure.
No, I know what you're saying, but no, it has nothing to do with that. It's because Republican voters don't give a shit about how any policy will pass, and a lot of Democratic voters are a little more intuitive in thinking about, hey, how are you going to do this? And that's why they'll sit out elections when there's like a little break and something about Palestine, and Republicans will be like, yes, Daddy Trump, I know you're a pedophile, but for the love of God, please just kill the Democrats, own the libs, I will suck your dick. So yeah, it's just a voting-based thing.
Well,
there's a lot more
It's weird.
coalition between
I don't
the
know
right
any.
wing.
I don't know any right winger that thinks that way, but okay.
Well, let me
Oh
bring
yeah.
up
Do you
one
think?
more conspiracy.
Would you
Let me-
support Donald Trump if he was in the Epstein files and convicted of, or at least you wouldn't support
I
him?
wouldn't support Donald Trump. Of course
Yeah?
not. But
Okay. So he is in the Epstein files. So are you not going to support him anymore?
Well, he's in the logs, yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean that he diddled kids, right?
Okay. So
Would you-
the
would you
people
agree
that
that-
accused
hold on, would
him
you
of diddling
agree-
him, do you think
hold
they're
on,
all
hold on.
lying, or?
He's QAnon right now.
I think they're just conspiracy theorists, just like QAnon would be, right? Like, do you
I got
believe them when they
conspiracy
say they
second.
diddled kids? Do you actually believe them?
I believe the kids that
You
say they were
obviously
diddled by
do.
Trump and Epstein probably aren't lying about it.
Sorry, the logs
Which
are in this
kid- which
pizza
kid said
place
that? Hold on,
called
which kid said
Comet
that?
Pizza.
Which kid said
Well,
that?
Do you want me to go bring up their names? I can get all the different
Yeah,
court
bring
cases.
up their names. Go for it.
Okay.
Comet
Well,
Pizza
well,
has a
he doesn't-
basement.
Yeah, because he
Hold on,
can't.
hold on.
No, I
Let me
can.
just-
It'll take me
hold
2
on,
seconds.
Hold on,
Okay,
hold on.
look
Let
it
me-
up,
all
bro.
right, so while y'all go down the Epstein rabbit hole again for the 60th panel, let me go ahead and do another thing. I have another conspiracy theory, and this is the one that I presented to. So I was hoping one of my conservative brethren would take this up, because it's not really my conspiracy theory, but it's the one I've been seeing in the circle that I associate with the most, and so I feel obligated to bring it up. Now I will admit I haven't seen the link. There's that last step. It's kind of like the missing link, right? Like there's a very big piece that I haven't found or I've seen presented to me, and I don't. So that I don't believe. And I'll
But
tell you
in the
what it is.
Epstein thing?
No, of the conspiracy I'm about to give
This
you,
is
which
it.
is
Okay.
which is the one that I told you about earlier, was Doge has cut USAID. These NGOs were secretly sending money back to the US, and they're funding the Democratic Party through these programs such as that. And because of that, that's why the Democratic Party is now having to borrow money or attempting to for fundraising. And now I will admit, it is an appealing thing to me because I do like Doge, but I do find personally I haven't seen any. There's this big key piece of evidence, which is the link between the NGO and the group, like
Sure.
getting the money. Like there's this part that's not there. Now, maybe it's just not been presented yet. Maybe somebody's gonna find it. I don't know. But how realistic? And at the end, I want y'all to kind of tell me what are the probabilities of these. Like he's saying 0, but like I know the earlier one that Hugh mentioned was
It's
Soros.
50-50,
Like,
right?
well, with the probability, these are things that are like actually the major reasons behind this. Like, I find this one maybe low until they find that link. I find the Soros thing, even if it is true, to be like only a tiny fraction of the funding. Like, how rich is Soros really, right? Like, and I think more of the Civil War is more kind of my take. What are y'all's thoughts here? Do you think there's any legitimacy to that conspiracy theory? Anybody?
I honestly have never heard the conspiracy theory. Grid or Tyler, if you guys have.
No,
No, really.
I talked a little bit about it with Gibbs the other day, and I that was the first I had kind of heard of it, but
It's all
I
in my
mean,
feed. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'm sorry though, I was really distracted waiting for that list of names.
Oh, I mean, you can go into any of the
No,
just
I'm
go to
not doing
sexual
anything. You
misconduct
made
on the
the statement.
Wikipedia
I'm
page.
not
thought it was
I'm
one-
linking
Wikipedia.
some of the stuff from Maria
Let me look
Farm.
it up at Wikipedia.
Well, you see, Wikipedia has this cool thing at the bottom that are sources to news articles. I know it's hard to do 2 clicks, but yeah, you can look at the Maria Farmer one. You can
Okay.
look at the Virginia Guruff or whatever the fuck. There's like dozens of these.
Gibbs.
With you can call them incredible. A lot of these were settled. A lot of these were silenced. Maybe it's all
What are the
you know.
names?
Grid.
I just said
So,
2 of them. Do you want me to keep reading more
your
names?
actual
to you?
question
No,
there?
you named events, but you didn't give names. I said who are the
Virginia
names, who are the children?
Guffrey, Maria Farmer. There's like a bunch of other names, but I
They were on
can't
Epstein's
find
Island?
I don't
To your
didn't say
question,
anything about the
Dibs,
island. I
They all
said these are
Trump
people
didn't-
that have either accused Trump of raping them or seen Trump, going after kids. Like, could all be made up. Who knows? Maybe he was just really big friends with this pedophile for a really long time, but I don't know.
The Democrat donor.
Hey, Clinton was friends with it too. I don't see me defending
Yeah.
Clinton because I'm not. I don't own
Weinstein, P. Diddy.
my
I think he
my
puts the other
Clinton
side of the
hat.
medal.
I'll get rid of my Clinton flag and my
There's
Clinton
never
hat
he
and all
did
that.
anything
I
like
guess
that.
if it turns out he was a pedophile, but
Okay, so to your question, I searched and searched and searched because that's something you asked me earlier before the panel. I found no evidence to any ties between Democratic donations and USAID, even though some of the same NGOs that donate to Democrats also get money from USAID. That could just be because of good intentions, and until I see that corruption, it's basically saying all funding that goes to my opponents is corrupt.
Wait, hold on. Wait, did you just say
It's a soy pill tactic.
Did you just say you actually have? Wait, so you actually have evidence?
No,
of
no, I
NGOs
looked. I looked out for 2 days. I couldn't find shit.
From any NGO that got money from USAID. Okay,
Oh, they
so you
did. I just couldn't find any link to show that their funding has slowed down for any particular reason. We might see that at the end of the cycle, but it's
Okay.
so fucking early.
This is
How
my
do
question.
we know?
This is my question. The NGO got money from USAID, correct? Yes. And then you're saying you have evidence that those same NGOs give to Democrat candidates.
I found a couple that I don't know candidates, party. I just saw that there were several that contribute to the Democratic Party in some way. Yeah, but that doesn't mean necessarily there's any corruption there at all. That's not proof of corruption.
Okay.
It's Democrat or Republicans can go pass laws that are good for guns, and then people that like guns, like the NRA, can donate to Republicans. That's not proof of corruption. That's this candidate wants to sponsor the things that are for me, and I vote for myself. So why would I not vote for this candidate? Like they are washing each other's hands, but it doesn't make it anything clandestine or corrupt. It just that's.
Tyler, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic, but I agree.
not.
I agree with you. Like, yeah, like the idea that like they're funneling money
or not, but like.
I see what you're saying, but this is how politics work. You go for the like a company is going to make more money if you cut. Donald Trump's going to cut taxes, so big business people go with Donald Trump. He cuts taxes. They gave money to his campaign. They made money off the taxes.
When we play poker, why are you this bad? Like I don't understand.
I won the poker league.
You didn't win a single round that I played. That's the crazy part. But now he's over here. I can't tell.
Look at my trophy, first place.
Oh my god! Yeah, I mean, you still didn't beat me a single time. Crazy. I just don't understand. All right, sorry. Yeah, Soypo, you saying you agree with his take there?
If he's not memeing, the idea that like USAID funnels money to NGOs, but they're like, actually, what you got to do is then donate all this money to Democratic candidates because we're not allowed to do it. And it was this big money laundering scheme. I mean, first of all, if you look at like what I assume Tyler found of how much these NGOs are donating to candidates, it's like peanuts compared to like what the DNC is raising during a normal election cycle. But even if like the NGOs do donate to some Democratic candidates, like first of all, you'd have to have second of all, you'd have to have this show that they specifically get the money that was given to them by USAID to these candidates, which is not the case, versus hey, this NGO aligns with what this politician is saying, so they're going to give them some money, which is totally allowed, I'm pretty sure. The USAID money is not the reason it's cut off or the funding is down.
Grid, Jake, do y'all see anything sus about that, or am I the only one here?
I mean, I believe the NRA was. I believe the NRA was actually investigated, and I think maybe sued over campaign contribution irregularities. So that would refute everything that Soypill just said. But I don't know that. I'd have to go look it up, and I'm not researching shit.
I mean, what about you, Jake? You find what they're saying sus or like not sus? Because like I didn't even know about what he's saying, and now I'm a little more sussed out than I was before.
So it's not NGOs; it was groups I was talking about, like specific groups that get money. NGOs can't take political steps. They can't do anything politically legal.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask.
But they're receiving USA money. The people that you're talking about. Okay,
but they can't make campaign contributions.
Yeah, and then the person that owns the NGO or has in charge of it, that's the person making the contributions to the Democrats.
Personally, but not on behalf of the org.
Yeah, and there's
not on behalf of the NGO. Okay.
Yeah,
so you're saying the person that
sorry, I fucked that up. Otherwise.
Well, so yeah, like the
vice
conspiracy
versa.
would be that U.S. aid gives NGO money, the NGO CEO or leader pays himself, and then uses that as
And
personal
then,
funds to
yeah,
donate
yeah.
to the DNC or something. Like,
Would that be the conspiracy theory, Tyler?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was saying about taxes. You
Okay.
cut taxes, the owner of the business makes more money, he donates to the Republican Party. Same exact thing.
Right. And then okay, I get you there through tax cuts, and then they get money through whatever they save, right? And they donate to whatever political party that they're. Yeah, I mean that does make sense to a degree. I mean, I think we see this with politics. I do find it suspicious if that's the case. I mean, it sounds kind of legitimate in a way, but I haven't done the research to really have a deep dive into that.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
can't
this is new
speak to the
information to me too. I don't know. I'm finding it real sus as I hear it personally, but
Yeah, I'd have to go
There's
into
this thing
deep
I
dive
heard
on it.
about. Weren't there some corporations that were like getting like deregulated or getting some kind of like government subsidies and then donating to
let's just
candidates
take it
or
as
like running ads on behalf of them? Or I felt like I heard about. I don't know if that's ever happened.
let's just for funsies, let's do a thought
I think
exercise real
what you
quick.
might
Okay.
be thinking of was the NRA would support a local person in an election or something like that, and somehow the money. I'm not really sure that they were clean with the way the money was handled. Now that could, I'm sure that they said it was an accounting error. There was a lot of, and obviously, by the way, I do not belong to the NRA. I think that they're a very bad organization that do not have gun owners' rights at heart. Wayne LaPierre is a criminal and should be in jail. But all right. But that was some of the accusations were that Wayne LaPierre, acting as the president of the NRA, was participating not in the best way with politicians, including flights around the country on private jets and things of that nature, which he was obviously called out on. I'm not really sure the disposition of all of that. I never looked into it. I just know that there were questions asked. I'm not sure that there were court cases or anything like that. I could look it up, or my chat will look it up. But
I just found actually an article that goes into detail, and it's like really up to date. This is like July this year. It's like 35 million. So yes, this is basically how it works.
Been ousted, and they're clean. The NRA's been cleaning house. Because LaPierre's been ousted finally, and things like that. So, but that would be an example of that, right? And so there are other organizations. That's just one of many hundreds, maybe thousands of organizations that back politicians using federal grant money that they shouldn't be using for that purpose. And I think that's what Tyler's talking about. And I'm just using one example from somebody that I do pay attention to refute what Soy Pill had to say. That's all. That's all I'm doing.
Let me just for funsies here. Let's make it the thought exercise, because I'm still not totally sold on this. And I was definitely like 0% sold on this as a conspiracy theory. But let's just for funsies say that it's 100% true. How much do y'all think of the percentage of the funding would be actually affected by this? Like, even if it was true, I'm having like trouble squaring.
It would be very small.
Yeah, that's the percentage. That's affecting it like on the day to day. I can't see how it'd be that high of a percentage. Like,
there's no way that it's affecting even as bad as the economy hasn't really improved much in the last 3 years. Trump's slightly better than Biden's last year, but it was already kind of going that way to begin with. So I'd say that's probably a bigger factor than USAID losing funding, is the fact that people are just donating less because they're kind of broke.
Yeah, that could be it. Not only that, the $2 billion that Kamala Harris got donated prior before. Going back to Soy Pill's point, like I don't think they have a leader. So you can see, a lot of them kind of being cautious about the donations. But as far as the conspiracy theory, I don't think it's gonna make that big of a difference as far as the donations go. As far as like the leftover money. So I'm not too sure on that.
I'm still sticking with my biggest factor, man. They isolated the Jewish vote. The Jewish voter is per capita the largest donor in the country.
Not only that, that's a good point, especially with the Jewish, especially AIPAC. They do get a lot of politicians.
I don't know that it's true. I can't refute it, but I don't know that it's true.
Yeah.
Why?
mean,
I
is
guess
that-
my
is that-
my only contention with that, Tyler, is if that's the case, then why are we raising money at a 2-to-1 compared to 2017 when there wasn't like a big anti-Israel movement back then?
Inflation.
2-to-1?
2-to-1.
I mean, it's not. I looked at the numbers. I linked the actual DNC, what they said they confirmed right now. We're on pace. We're at 7 months in. If this rate continues, they'll actually be just slightly ahead of 8 years ago. And we've had, I think, 25% inflation since then. So I would argue that if you take inflation into account, they're probably going to raise less. I looked, they're at $60 million total raise contributions this so far in 7 months. And I think it was close to 200 between 2017 and 2018.
I think it's the rate of donations. I don't know about the total amount. And like we said, the bigger donors are sitting out. If you can show that those are disproportionately Jewish, I guess I don't think that's what's going to happen. Look, it's a lot of speculation here. I think if you look at the donations a year from now, clip this, but I think it's going to be right back to where it was, and it won't have anything to do with an Israeli change in policy.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to that, I don't know. Am I the only Jewish member on the panel right now?
No, I'm Jewish.
Are you Jewish, bro? Now that I look at
yeah.
you,
You can see
you
Yeah.
look it now.
I was gonna say I clocked him from a mile away. The fact that it took you that long, Ben.
Am I the only Zionist?
Do you fiddle on the roof? No, I'm kidding, bro.
I mean, occasionally, I've been known to
Occasionally,
fiddle.
you play the fiddle.
I fuck with tradition. Yeah, I mean, there's a split within the Jewish community that has grown because there are more more conservative or more which I think correlates with more kind of like business oriented, which are probably wealthier Jews who would be the larger campaign contributors who are still more supportive of Israel. And then there's especially younger people and especially more progressive Jews are more critical of Israel. So there is a split.
No, I was gonna.
Please.
Oh no, I was going to ask you. So since you are part of the Jewish community, just out of curiosity, wouldn't that make sense, especially with the issues over there with Hamas and Palestine, etc.? Seems like a lot of the liberal, especially young liberals that are there that are chanting out free Palestine. Wouldn't you say that a lot of the donations or the donors, the lobbyists over there in AIPAC and the Jewish community, wouldn't that make sense that for them to just kind of not go towards the Democratic Party since they do support a lot of these kind of free Palestine, etc. Liberal voters? Like, wouldn't that make sense that many of them
hold on.
probably would kind of deter?
Where's the Democratic Party supporting this? If anything, most of the Democratic, even like the more progressive people, like AOC, are literally angering those protest people because they're voting for aid packages to Israel. Why would the donors see these protests and say, yes, the DNC is in line with them, when I don't think any of the Democratic leadership is?
So those are exactly. So those are the people who are more supportive of the DNC establishment versus the people who are more critical. But just to disambiguate a little bit, so AIPAC is a lobby for Israel, and they have become more and more supportive of Republican lawmakers because they're basically just like, oh, Israel's killing brown people. We like killing brown people. Sorry, I don't mean that. Whatever.
No, I mean, bro, let's be 100 about it. Let's be 100 about it.
So they're our buddies, right? Netanyahu, he doesn't like Arabs. We don't like Arabs. It's great. Why wouldn't we be best friends, right? So there's some alignment that's happening there. That's not the same as necessarily, Jewish mega donors in the U.S. Who are more in line with the Democratic establishment. But in terms of like the really, I mean, the kind of more clear signals that we're seeing when it comes to donations, Zoran Mamdani, he's been labeled even by some members of the Democratic establishment as like anti-Semitic, right? So even these slurs are going. There's like a Democratic like attack ad where they darkened and lengthened his beard to make it look more scary Muslim, whatever, right? There's a lot of Islamophobia, but he got record funding in New York City, which has double the number of Jews as Jerusalem, right? So the idea that like,
you know the percentage of that were Jewish donors, the percentage, or no? You know the percentage of that, or no?
I don't know if that's. We could try to find that. I'm not sure if that's like.
I'm just out of curiosity because I'm kind of curious on that because I think Tyler brings in a pretty good point about that.
but there's like there's a big perception gap between what say Donald Trump is pushing for, where he's basically saying anybody who says free Palestine is like an anti-Semite, right? These movements are largely Jewish led, right?
Yeah.
So I've been at encampments that were, you know, cleared out, that were labeled anti-Semitic, where the only thing I could hear were groups of people singing together in Hebrew, right? So this is really like a slur against the Jewish community, saying that like, oh, if you're Jewish and you don't support Israel, if you don't support genocide,
You're anti-Semitic. Yeah.
you're anti-Semitic.
It's double
like
fake.
the pure spirit of
Right.
Judaism is like murdering people. Like that's an anti-Semitic statement. To be against genocide, those are the things that I learned as values, you know, growing up in a Jewish community. To have empathy for people, you know, we have this thing on, like, I don't know if you've heard of Passover or Pesach, you know, where we read from like the story of the Jews' exodus from Egypt, and we're slaves in Egypt, and we're supposed to think about people who are oppressed today. It
You're not
probably
religiously
wasn't
Jewish, are you?
No. I mean, semi. I don't know, but
You don't know?
I mean, the Jewish split on the donors from Mamdani is probably just going to be tied exactly to the other Democrat. Like I don't know if they even delineate based on like, are you Jewish or not? It's going to be like, I think the ultra wealthier people
like
were
the
against him, or all of the older people are going to vote for the Chris Cuomo, and all the younger voter went for him. Like the Jewish vote is going to be split there. It's not going to be, oh yeah, who did the Jews go for? Like that's not really like a voting base as a whole.
No, I was talking about donation, like a lobbyist.
They're like 15% of New York City.
Well,
no. What I mean is they don't vote as a monolith because they usually don't have like, what's the Jewish issue here? In the same way that black people might be like, hey, like this very specific policy calls out jobs for black voters, or Latino people might be voting on an immigration thing on a much higher majority. Like the Jewish people don't vote based on that, even when it's this Israel-Palestine thing.
So like we do agree that the people, the Jewish, they donate a lot to to different groups, different PACs, right? And they do make up some portion of the voting base, especially in New York. But I don't know enough, but I know, for example, the Catholics and the SBC, both of them put out, the Southern Baptist Convention, they both put out like a pamphlet before voting. Now they're not specifically allowed to say like who they're voting for, but they'll be like, oh, these are the candidates, and these values that they're proposing align with ours, and then are aligned with these values that we're proposing. These are the other candidates, and these are the things where we differ. And then they don't say who to vote for, but it's like, okay, they agree with all these, just so you know, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like all these organizations do that, all the religious ones. Like, are you saying that like maybe if the voting isn't the key thing, do you think that enough donors are not being influenced by the Israel-Palestine thing that it's hurting the Democratic Party right now, as compared to like, you know, I know there's not one like Orthodox Jew church that controls as many like denominations as like say like the Catholics or the SBC or something.
Pope.
But
well, this is to Tyler's conspiracy, because I'll call it that until we can be sure that the Jews are withholding funding because of Israel-Palestine. Older Jews are more likely to have more money. Older Jews are more likely to be pro-Israel. So therefore, older Jews would be more likely to withhold funding if they thought that the progressive pro-Palestine movement was taking over the DNC, which it's not. Like, again, even the most progressive politicians aren't being pro-Palestine to the degree that the movement wants them to be. That doesn't mean I think they're necessarily wrong, but you can see they're chewing up Bernie because he won't use genocide as a word. And like, yeah, if Bernie isn't far left enough for them, then I don't see why these donors would be like, yes, like, you know, the party, the Intifada has taken over the party and we shan't be donating. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right, there's a ghost possessing my house.
Just because you can hold up your little tokens doesn't mean it's even close to the majority. I'm looking at the numbers right now. The Jewish community in the United States overwhelmingly supports Israel, said they side with them. Israel decisions over Israel and U.S. foreign policy are very important to them. American support for Israel versus Gaza, it's starting to collapse now after a few years, but at one point, 78% of the U.S. said they wanted Israel to finish the job with Hamas before the war ended. So at the end of
Yeah,
the
but
day,
what does that mean, right? Like, is that,
Here's the
hey,
job.
we want you to ethnically cleanse the strip like Trump suggested, or does it mean get rid of Hamas,
I
the
don't think
terrorist
Trump
organization,
is
right? Like, these are
Trump's
very
plan
different.
is not that.
Trump literally
Yeah,
said,
so
let's
there's-
clear out Gaza,
so
put
there's
them all in
just-
Libya and Egypt at a certain point. Yeah, like,
Yeah, to clear
So
out the
Tyler,
land faster than
there's
allow
just
them
one
back
thing to
in.
call out.
I don't know if he said anything about them coming
I
back.
did. I
In
read the
between
policy.
Gaza, though, obviously it's like 80% of the buildings were destroyed. So you do need to clear out the people in order to fix the strip, right?
No.
That's what he was speaking about.
I
Yeah,
saw it,
but
yeah.
just Tyler, I need to call you out because actually I'm familiar with the poll you were talking about, where they're asking like American Jews like what they think of Israel, and the number that you were citing about Jews having some kind of like strong feelings about Israel wasn't disambiguating. Do they support the Israeli government or whatever? Support for like some kind of positive feelings toward the Israeli people is like 90%. Support for the Israeli government is like 50% within the Jewish community. But some kind of attachment from Israel to Israel was the question. I have some kind of attachment to Israel. I feel responsible for their actions as somebody who shares their faith, as a nation that's saying like, oh, we're doing, you know, we're doing what Jews want by killing these people. Like we're representing Jews. If they say we're representing you by doing this, I feel like I have the obligation to speak out in the same way that, you know, people who are Muslim might decide to speak out against, you know, some kind of authoritarian religious regime. I feel like I have the obligation to speak out when Netanyahu says, if you criticize anything our government does, you're anti-Semitic. You know, I don't think you should hold people as part of a faith to that, but I feel like personally I have the obligation to speak out against that.
Well,
Sure,
Grid,
but that's not my argument.
let me go to you, Grid. Do you think do you think it's this is the big reason why they're hurting on funding and fundraising, or do you think it's other
I
issues
don't think
other
it's
than the Soros
helping, but
thing?
I
What
don't
do you
think
think?
it's
Like,
helping, but I don't know how major an impact it has. I would just say that I think that there is some truth to the fact that there's probably some donor fatigue, right? They've been giving. They raised $2 billion for Kamala Harris's campaign. That's a lot of money, and you know I guess without knowing, and I was not able to find. I did look for this without knowing what the man on the street contributions are, the guy who gives $100 or $50 or $25. Without knowing that, I think that basically I would have to stand by the I would have to stand by my perception is they've angered some billionaires. Everybody most people only know 5 or 6 billionaires, and that's Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, and Soros, right? Like that's it. Like
Okay,
they don't know anybody else, right? Like they
Oprah.
don't even.
Kanye?
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, right. There's a lot of billionaires out there,
there's a lot of billionaires, yeah.
and to think that the DNC has not angered some of them with the way that they have presented themselves, I think is delusional. And I think that they're going to have to win those people back. But I would honestly, I almost wonder if it's the rank and file, right? Like we know, right, from polling and you know whatnot, that the younger generation is more and more conservative and less liberal progressive, right? And if those people are not giving money, if those people are not opening their wallet or writing in, you know, when you you guys remember, maybe you don't, maybe it's just an old person thing, but when you went to college that first day and you paid your bill, you could like donate to your political party or whatever down at the end, and you could get like $5 or something, right? And I don't think people are writing in $5 here and there anymore. I just don't. I just don't feel like that people are, even when people come up to look, they're having a hard time getting real polls because people are avoiding the polls in the malls or wherever the fuck people go now. I never go. I go to the lake and the gym. That's pretty much fucking it for me. So
I don't think they
and
poll
fly.
people in
If I could have
public
flown the
like
day, it'd have been a perfect day.
petitions.
If
That's
I
not how
could have
like Pew
flown today,
Research.
I'm sorry.
They don't like have a guy on a corner for polling. That's not how like Pew Research is conducted. That's like for petitions.
Sure. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. I mean, if I could have had I don't know. I could have had a perfect day today if I'd gone flying. Other than that, I did everything I fucking normally do. So, and it didn't occur to me to go fly until it was too late. But I just don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, Gibbs. I think there is a problem in the DNC. I think the DNC is bleeding cash. I think they have a problem. Whether they want to admit it or not, it's none of my damn business. I honestly don't give a fuck.
Well, wait, Grid, to be clear, you're not wrong. I mean, there isn't some like secret or debate about whether or not these donors, I don't know if you want to use the word mad, but they're clearly like withholding funding. Ken Martin is talking to these people and saying, hey, like, why aren't you giving us money? And they're like, well, one, we're either upset at the fact that you did not use our money to win last year, or we don't know where you're going now. This is all undisputed. This is just like, they're admitting this. That's very different from, there's a secret Soros fund that's dried up and they don't want to admit it, so they're saying it's some other thing.
Hey, Socrates. Is that your name, right? Socrates?
Socrates, yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up. According to Pew Research, it's about 85% of U.S. Jews believe it's important for the U.S. to support Israel. I want to ask you, since you're over there in New York, right? You said you were in New York?
No. I'm not in New York.
Oh,
Yeah,
never mind.
That was very anti-Semitic of you to assume that just because he's Jewish looking.
Not Jews live in New York.
I was
right?
about to ask you an anti-Semitic question.
I actually 100% pegged him for like New York, New Jersey, East Coast.
I was thinking he was from New York, bro. I don't know why I assumed that.
Well, this is a little off topic, but I was growing up in Texas, right? And everybody always makes the Texas racist jokes, right? I've heard it my whole life. Oh, they must be racist. And I was always growing up. I hear these like online. I got online. I would always hear these Jews jokes. Never got it because the only like Jewish people I knew were there was like 3 hot blonde chicks. That's the only ones we had down there. And I think they're probably the only Jews in all of Texas. So like, it never made sense to me. And now y'all over here, y'all all got the jokes. I just want y'all to know that y'all are all more racist than Texas, you bastards. And
I will tell you this: I'm also from Texas, and I didn't grow up.
Thanks for fucking me up there, bro. I appreciate it.
No, I agree with you, Gibbs. That's the thing.
Well, he's a wetback, so I don't know.
I did come in here illegally, man. So don't tell Trump about it. But yeah,
you and my father then both got in here in the same way, so it's all right. But moving on, back. I mean,
Gibbs, real quick. I don't know if you're open to this, but Jonah, who's appeared on WIC panels before, he works for Progressive Victory, and I think he's much more of a authority on this and can talk about the funding real quick. If you're still having,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I added him to the DM, but I think you'll get a much more substantive answer from him. I'm not talking myself down. He just knows a lot.
Yeah, no, he can absolutely join us if he wants to. Yeah, I mean, I don't. We don't have Del Taco, but no, I don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's something, Grid, to what you were saying. I don't know that the DNC has made billionaires mad via policy or rhetoric. Losing, obviously, that's not great. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be part of the losing side. Only part of the winning side. They want to have victories. But Trump right now is doing a really, really good job of courting billionaires. He's giving them lots of our money. Why wouldn't they like that, right?
I'm calling them Jewish Calvary guys. Jonah knows this shit.
I don't
just
know
looking.
that
I hope you
we've
guys
seen
are
any
interested in
kind
the
of,
Tim
like,
Pool thing because this is
effect of
alright.
it when it comes to this, the funding.
I don't know.
Of the
Gibbs just
DNC,
keeps wanting to do
but
the
I
why are
wouldn't be
Democrats
so
losing
surprised
debate.
if there's more billionaires who start to give donations like to more to the Republican side versus the Democratic base is more likely to want some kind of like campaign finance reform. But the DNC itself is very happy to court billionaires. They're not that interested in kind of like leftist populist like politics or policies. So the split between the voter base and the party establishment, I think is pretty broad and worth keeping in mind.
Let me go to Jonah since we just brought him in here. Jonah, Soy says you work for Progressive Victory.
Did yeah, but okay, I know a lot about campaign. Yeah.
Well, so that's fine. Just to be clear, like I know my audience, I got a lot of casuals. So if you would explain like what Progressive, they're a PAC or a super PAC, right? And explain what that is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can explain it, but I don't work for them anymore.
Well, that's fine.
But,
you got fired or what?
No, the
Oh.
election ended.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just so that because I know
yeah,
people.
yeah, it's they're a combined PAC / super PAC, so they can do outside spending not coordinated with the campaign, and they can also do like regular PAC activities where you can spend like up to a certain amount with the like in coordination with the campaign.
And a PAC is a
also
political action committee.
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. On this topic, I think like kind of surprising to me that like some people in here actually had like somewhat decent reasons why the funding is going down. Like I think it's a combination of a lot of the things that people are talking about. Like I think the grassroots money is actually doing not that bad, but a lot of the like 6 to 7 figure checks are actually not coming in because people are just really uncertain about if their money is going to be well spent or not, and they're sort of just waiting and sitting on their money to see what the DNC does this year before doing those big commitments, and that's obviously where the majority of the money for the party is going to come from, is from those 6 and 7 figure checks, because one of those donors versus like hundreds and hundreds of smaller donors would be equivalent. So that's why, but like the Republicans are super happy, right? Like they're like, well, yeah, like Trump is the party and Trump is the president. So if I want to satisfy him and therefore satisfy the party, they're going to give the money to the RNC as quickly as possible, as early as possible, right, when he wins, right? So that's why there's a lot of money coming in for them right now, but not a lot of money coming in for us.
What do you think that they're waiting on to see before they donate, in your opinion?
Like what's changed, basically, like what strategically is changing. What, there already has been a lot of stuff, like they're doing like a lot more like creator stuff, like influencer stuff than they were. They're doing like there's a lot of people that are like the old guard that like were like super dumb strategically that aren't really involved anymore. A lot of stuff has and is changing, but they're just waiting to see.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I like this thing, but they announced like this. What's it, like the creator war room or something? Like they're doing like more content creator stuff, which is a good idea.
I meant well, that too, but I meant of like an old guard person that they got replaced, put somebody new in. Like, do you have who's like the old guy out new?
I'm not gonna name names on that.
I didn't know.
David Hogg was the old guard. He's the reason actually they lost in 2024, and they replaced him with Ken Martin, who's a much younger, virile man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
David Hogg was the chair of the DNC. Yeah.
But yeah, go on with what
younger than virile. Are you making an assumption that maybe he's got a little too much soy in his diet?
No, David Hogg has too much soy, but the Ken Martin, he's a big, strong man, and he knows exactly what to do. That's why the Democratic Party is headed in the right direction.
It's low-hanging fruit, man. I got to go for it. It's low-hanging.
I wanted to say that like it is 100% not the only / even top 5 reasons why the party's not getting as much funding. But I think like the like Jewish donor thing that Tyler's talking about is like actually not the worst reason. Like there is some truth to that probably. Just knowing like how frustrating a lot of
sign? Like,
you
had to just wait
like 5 to 10 or something like that probably. Because all it takes is 1 to 2 pissed off like 100 millionaire or billionaire like old, like super old Zionist Jewish donors to not get like an $800,000 check or something, right? Like, and then like like you get 3 of those, and there's a couple $1 million that you're not getting now that you would have gotten really early on in the election cycle. That are just not being accounted for, and they probably will eventually get it. Right? Like these people are just like solid Democrats who have always voted Democrat, but they just might be pissed off right now about Zoran, about whatever, and they like blame the party for it, even if it's like kind of silly to blame the party for it.
I don't know. Those 29 votes in the Senate the other day is a way to link it to the party. That came after Zoran. The Bernie Sanders thing to defund all of the offensive weapons going to Israel.
Well,
but other than that, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you're
Bernie
saying,
just did that to let you know he's still alive.
Well, okay, let me just do this. So you're saying that these donors are saying they're going to wait. Soy Pills also kind of echoed that. How much do y'all think that this is going to affect? I know Soy's arguing that they're going to start doing as midterms wrap up. How important do you think these early like months are, like now? Like strategic wise, not having this money available, how much do you think it's going to affect them in the midterms? Is it going to really hurt them? Is it going to be not so important? What are our thoughts on this? Is it like a major issue? Like I think it might be something, but
if you
go
don't
ahead.
even have a coherent message to disseminate with all the money that you would have to spend on ads and all that, I guess, can you still hear me? I mean, you asked the question.
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
sorry.
sick. I was
Yeah,
like, all right, am I
yeah,
wasting my
yeah,
breath?
yeah.
Yeah, no,
No,
it's
no,
like
I got you.
this is not going to make a huge difference. I mean, I think even like if there was no money in the DNC, which obviously matters, but if there was none, like the messaging of the primary politicians of like, hey, how bad is Donald Trump doing in this election cycle is going to make such a big difference compared to like whether or not the Democrats are able to run an ad that demonstrates that he's doing a bad job. It matters obviously, but like, yeah, this is not going to be like the changing factor. It's also not going to be that big of a deal that the money is not there now, because I think, like Jonah will probably agree, I don't know if you will, the money's going to come around in the midterms because everyone's going to get fired up. Big things are going to happen. You're going to get all the October surprises. I mean, I for one am not donating to the Democratic Party right now, but I did last year. That was to offset some Trump merch that I bought though. So
Yeah, to be honest, I got to agree with Soy over here, because at the end of the day, when the midterms come around, they're going to get fired up. They're going to have to win. Especially when it comes to history. Usually, us as Republicans might expect to either lose the House or the Senate or something here. So they're going to go hard and at least to get one of those, one of them, either the House or the Senate. But it has to happen. Eventually, they're going to have to get together, decide of what direction they're going to go to, leading into the midterms. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, as far as now though, on why they're getting broke, I think we can all agree that coming off of a landslide loss to Donald Trump could affect a lot of this, a lot of donors from donating from these politicians. Not only that, they don't know who the leader is. Even when I asked this question to Soypill and Socrates, they're not even too sure themselves. So I think the Democratic Party's strategy moving forward is to pick a direction. I saw Elizabeth Warren is already kind of jumping ship on a direction that she wants with, I believe it's the guy that won the primaries over there in New York, the Muslim Mamdani. Thank you. Yeah, so we might be seeing some of these Democrats picking a side and seeing which direction they go moving forward. But the money will come.
Were you saying that she was suggesting that he run for president like next cycle, or what's?
No, I don't think she suggested that. I'm saying that she said democratic socialism is the future of the Democratic Party. That to me tells me that she kind of picked a side with that direction, you know?
Well,
that makes
so
sense.
let me ask this then, because I'm seeing, maybe I disagree a little bit here, because I'm seeing this trend with the polling, and it's saying, oh, some of these low numbers are as low as 8% approval ratings, right? And it's like the lowest time in decades. And then I'm seeing, oh, we're dissatisfied with the funding. And then y'all are just saying, oh, they're just holding on. They're just holding on until they see who's going out there. I think Soypill made a good point with, oh, well, if you don't really have a message yet, let's not waste the money, right? Like that's fair. But then y'all turn around and say, oh, it seems like they pick sides and they're going more progressive. And I don't know if I think that's actually maybe the anti of what you want, because you're going more progressive. It seems like maybe that's part of the reason they aren't getting the funding, because a lot of these mainstream donors are like, oh, if we're going to go more left, well, this is the opposite of what I want. Because I know people like Tyler, and I've heard other people say we need to move more to the middle. And, y'all are saying the opposite. What are your thoughts on that being a factor?
Yeah.
Well, I just have to give one statement here, and it's not super in depth, but Tyler, I promise you, is not representative of the average Democratic voter. I think if you could find more than 5 people that want Fetterman to be the primary candidate in 2028, I would be very surprised, but that's it.
He's got a similar approval rating to AOC. He's not that unpopular. He's very popular within his state. He's very popular.
He's unpopular among primary voters, which is the important part.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is kind of a critical. Gibbs, what you're saying, this is a kind of critical feature of our time, because for a while, the kind of like Clinton era, the Democratic establishment cozied up to corporations. They raised a shitload of money, and they're doing really, really well. And they've moved further and further and further away from the kind of like working person's party that supports unions and supports social programs that make everyday people's lives better and support like worker power against corporatist takeover. they've moved away from that, and they've taken more and more billionaire funding. And at a certain point, you get to a point where, how much more funding can you get to run ads to tell people to vote a certain way when your policies aren't supporting the things that affect those voters? And then I understand it can be very scary as a party to say we're going to maybe alienate some donors, some people in the donor class who are billionaires, who are very wealthy. We might lose some of their funding if we go in a more populist direction. But these are the things that affect our constituents, and those are also the voters. And so this question of money versus constituents who are the voters that you're trying to buy ads to get them to vote in the first place, it is kind of a tough cycle. And they may have moved about as far as they can in the corporatist category without just being, I mean, the Republican Party is also moving very far to the corporatist side, right? The big beautiful bill that's increasing the deficit by whatever $1 trillion and giving all of that money to billionaires. The Democrats can't compete with that. They're not going to be more corporatist than the fascist party, right? So at some point they need to start saying, maybe we're actually just going to do things that help our constituents, and we are going to lose some funding, but it's not going to take as many dollars to get one voter if they actually really, really like what we're doing.
You think that's a winning strategy moving forward, especially with the midterms coming up?
I mean, that's
the question there.
That's a question. I think it's likely. I mean, so you see, I personally think Bamdani should be the model. He's the person who's gotten, not just the kind of support and votes and whatever, but the money. He's gotten the money.
Sure.
Right? Versus, with his populist policies, I don't know if it's going to work everywhere. It worked in New York.
Right.
It's yet to be seen. I think it's a reasonable direction, and I don't know that there's a lot of choice, because I don't know what kind of moves they can make in that direction, versus there's a lot of open field for populist policies that your constituents want. It's a reasonable strategy to go in that direction. But I'm not
Can I just give you a little bit of pushback on that? Historically, historically though, from what I've noticed, usually with those types of politicians, they don't tend to have too much success moving forward, especially on the higher ranking of the presidency and stuff like that. So that's why I'm saying, I don't know if that's a good strategy. I think you guys should move more towards the center. And I think that's the winning strategy moving forward, man. Historic wise. Further to the center part, instead of going farther left with the socialism, etc.
Moving further right for a long time.
Sure. Yeah, further right, more towards the center. I'm not saying be a Trump supporter or nothing like that. Mm-hmm. But what I am saying is that I think that's more of a winning strategy than going that direction of the socialism, right?
Okay. So what's the reason for that then? Or why do you?
Because historically, historically, it's usually Bernie Sanders that has been kind of successful on that. But outside of Bernie, there hasn't been too many politicians that kind of push that type of agenda that's been successful until recently with what's his name, the guy over there in New York, Benghazi, whatever. Mangadi, thank you. Whatever Benghazi, whatever the fuck his name is, man. Something Muslim or Indian, whatever the fuck he is.
Sure,
but
you've been told 4 times now.
Something like that. But I'm just saying, I think the winning strategy for the Democrats would be kind of going towards that moderate position.
I mean, wait, Jake, I just have a question. As a Trump supporter, would you be honest with us, if you really did think it would work, or would you want us to lose?
Yeah, well, the only reason I say that is because historically, Bernie has kind of been, especially in 2016, Bernie got kind of fucked over. I just don't see the Democratic Party kind of embracing a lot of these progressive ideas.
I mean, they may not, but we're talking about what they should do. And if they had gone wholeheartedly behind Bernie, there's a good chance that he would have won the general.
I guess
I don't know, man.
Let me. I want to differentiate here, because I think there's a big difference between going more left, like what you might say to go towards more of Bernie, or even what Mamdani is doing, versus being more populist. And what I'm seeing from these people, like, you know, Ro Khanna and not Warren so much, but these other people, even Newsom, is, yeah, they're maybe you could say moving right because they're not being as progressive with their talks on trans issues or any of these things, but they're not doing it in a way that's like, hey, we're changing our policy on these things. They're just saying, I'm going to mention LGBT people less because I know that some people think it's too woke. And even though that means that I'm going to pass policies like, you know, Medicare that is going to lift all groups up, I'm just not going to hyper focus on those. And that's not a movement left, and that's not really a movement right. That's just a change in messaging that will alienate fewer people. And I think that's probably the right way to go.
And that's
Yeah,
mostly differentiation of like what is it, like social versus economic or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
They're it's like just
maybe it would be
going
clear-
super double down on the economy. Yeah.
I think going through Mandani
maybe
quotes.
to clarify what I think Viopod is asking. Do you think that the Democrat will appeal more to its the Democratic Party would appeal more to its base if it had a candidate that was more like a Kennedy Democrat, a Blue Dog Democrat, what like kind of like our buddy Tyler over here, who considers himself a classic liberal.
Clinton Democrat.
Gross. You're a classic liberal. Oh, dude,
Clinton
get out of here.
Democrat. Like a
Yeah,
90s
like
new
Democrat.
Democrat. New
Yeah,
Democrat.
I mean,
Do
He's
you
Democrat like
think
Temple's
that would
Democrat.
appeal more to their actual base than being more like Bernie and AOC and
No,
those
I have that answer.
No, I
So
mean-
looking at polling, 60-40, it favors more moving to the left within the party. Same way, 60-40, it favors going after Trump's policies and not waiting to see any actual results from them. Like 60-40, it's in favor of doing all these unpopular. If you go through a lot of Mondani's preferred stances, defund the police, trans sanctuary city, undocumented sanctuary city, these are not popular policies.
those are also not his main policies, right? Those are not the things he talks about. Those are not the
what
things
does it
he
matter if it's his
highlights.
main policy or
It's
not?
fine, yeah, whatever. Just say
It's
whatever.
just
Didn't
like
he
the
have a
reason
policy
people
that
vote
wants
for
to
him,
white
you know.
neighborhoods.
That,
I think
no,
that's
he
kind
just said that poorly. That was he wants to tax more affluent neighborhoods. That's all.
I do want to jump in here real quick. I know I'm moderating, but I actually want to answer Soy Pill's question because I find it kind of interesting. Which was the one about, as Republicans, would we be honest with you? I mean, now listen, people can say a lot of things about me, but I will be honest with you. And this is what I think is the funniest thing is I'm listening to what you're saying right now, and y'all are saying go to left, and I'm reading the tea leaves wrong, and sure it happens, right? But the tea leaves I'm reading are saying that the reason why y'all are winning in these states that y'all are winning is because they're ultra left state strongholds, right? Like these areas that have been like Democrat for a while. Yes, those places are going to vote more. They want to see the change, and so they're going to put forth these really progressive candidates, and they're going to be excited, and they want to like, now is our time. The party's in disarray. We got to put these guys now. Okay, that makes sense to me. However, I think that the lesson you're learning is the wrong lesson, and I will be honest with you because I think that me telling you this, y'all are still not going to believe me. And then y'all are going to keep doing the same thing you're doing, and I think that's actually going to lead you astray. Then I'm going to be like, haha, I have another point to say. I told you so.
Gibbs, I
So
always
won't lie
believe
to
you. You told me that you wouldn't care if all the elders who got kicked off Social Security died, and you're very honest about that. So
that's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It would be. It's a sad time. You can call me evil for that, but that's fine. But when I'm sitting here hearing these things, I'm going, okay, y'all are pushing this agenda. And you're going to move this way, and these guys, and I think the initial results are going to show the data that you think it does, right? It's going to be, these groups are all motivated. Yes, they're pushing these progressive leaders. Then you're going to come, I don't know about midterms, but you're going to come maybe to the next election, and y'all are going to be even more extreme, which is going to alienate the voters. Like, MAGA is actually a move left for the most of the right. Like, and I know y'all aren't going to probably agree with that, but for most of the right, like they're like, these are the progressives of the Republicans, right? They're not the the old school like South will rise again guys. They're
Trump
not
loves
the
unions.
extreme like ultra conservative, like Christian nationalists, right? They're not the Texas nationalists. They're not like any of the neocons. This is a more left of the right. Like Trump was a '90s Democrat, and
doing it on this left-right axis is so dumb.
I agree. It's definitely
more
top down. It's a
MAGA is more
yeah.
populist and authoritarian.
I agree.
But it's less
I agree with
neocon
you.
and
It is.
interventionist. Like obviously,
Well, I do. I absolutely agree.
yeah.
It's top, like up down as well. It's like a populist thing. It's a classist thing. But when you're telling me these things like the progressive thing, that is a more populist way. But y'all are pushing a lot of these things. I'm just very surprised this is the lesson y'all are learning, because I don't see the data reflecting that. I feel like the overall fact that overall donations are down, the fact people are waiting to see who comes out on top, and then the people that are winning are in the ultra left strongholds, and those are the progressives. That doesn't surprise me. I think y'all are taking this lesson and running with it. And I mean, for me, I'm happy about it, because I don't know. It surprised me y'all are all on board with it. Like, I don't know.
Well, Gibbs, what's your prescription? Hit us with what does the Democratic Party do?
Well, it's not Fetterman. I'll tell you that. That guy is not the answer. I can agree. I can agree with you on that.
I'll agree with Gibbs on that.
No shit.
Listen, the guy's got,
Gibbs on that.
yeah, he's had a stroke. Like, no offense, I can make an Abbott joke. He's like, listen, he's not making it to the finish line on it, whatever. The point is, like, the guy's had a stroke. He's got no fucking like charisma at this point, right? Like,
he keeps saying he doesn't want to be there. It's genuinely sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's definitely not him. Now, is his ideals and the right move? Maybe, but look at the guy y'all had. What was it, the Ohio governor? He was a little bit. I think he would have been a better choice than
Talking about Kasich?
Kasich, yeah, I think he would have been a choice than Walz. Personally, I think he's a little bit more moderate with still having the progressive chops. Kind of. I think that would be a good way where it's like you have the people background that y'all talked about, but you're also like tied kind of like not to the ultra progressives. Like, I think maybe that Rust Belt kind of angle would be good. I feel like y'all should like definitely push some more progressive shit, like the universal healthcare seems to be a really popular one.
Who would a Kasich kind of person be?
Buttigieg kind of comes to mind.
Who would that appeal to? What voter are we imagining that?
I mean,
Kasich
I'm
as a
thinking
VP
you're like middle, like left, and like your independents. Like, I talk to a lot of people that are like, we're not really Republicans, we're not really Dems, but like they're like, oh, we should absolutely have universal health care because we're America, right? Like, we're the best, right? And like that doesn't appeal to me.
That's not a
person
Kasich, though,
wouldn't appeal to. What I'm saying is, like the
like a
the neocon the neocon types who are still neocon now somehow they have already made their choice, right? Like, they've already decided if they're like an anti-Trump Democrat / not voting, or if they've gotten on the Trump train and like compromised their values and don't care anymore, right? Like, so those people have already picked. So I don't know who we're imagining that like a Kasich type like centrist Republican, like not even really a Republican. Yeah, I mean, like, Buttigieg, that's completely different. You're talking about a different thing. Because he's not a former Republican governor. He was like,
yeah, but he's also not an ultra lefty, like an extreme leftist, right? Like,
I mean, that has other problems.
He's got a few, but like.
But I think Buttigieg couldn't win, pretty much exclusively because he's gay, and unfortunately, this country wouldn't accept a gay candidate. Like, we're just not there. And I'm not just saying that, although I am biased because I just spent 3 days in the Black Baptist South. So. Yeah.
Yeah, his numbers with Black Democrats is 0%, actually 0% in polls. Not a single.
Buttigieg? Really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
He's popular among like white liberals and progressives and whatever, but actually 0% support among Black.
Yeah.
Democrats.
So that actually, it's funny. Socrates mentioned earlier that you would be a supportive of Buttigieg, right?
I think that he could be like one of the top people offered up. I'm not crazy about Buttigieg. I feel like he speaks very well. He's like
no, he does speak really well. Yeah, he went to Yale or some shit, right?
I'm not crazy about his like record. Like, what is he like?
What
his
about, Rox used to say Shapiro in the chat. Like, what do y'all think of Shapiro?
Shapiro's a good. Actually,
Sounds
Shapiro would be
Jewish.
a good pickup too.
Same deal. Like, you're getting one of these.
I'm really glad that they
well, but Shapiro didn't have a stroke. I mean, like, and like I know that sounds like a dick, but the guy is clearly not the same person.
Bro, the Democratic Party had somebody that was brain dead in the office for 5 years.
Yeah, I guess they vote for anything at that point, right? Yeah, good point there.
Hold on. So progressive. I got this point. I've been sitting up for 15 minutes. Give me a second. I got a point. I've been sitting up before I move on.
They won't vote. I'm thrilled that they won't have anything to do with Shapiro because he could win.
So
I'm absolutely thrilled that they don't
go
even
ahead.
consider that.
Yeah, okay. So
ahead,
I'm looking at 2022 data. In the House, there were 9 Democratic Socialists or progressives or whatever in the squad. They got cut down to 5 in 2022. Progressive got crushed in primaries all over the country, but I'm looking more at the blue areas where they got crushed. New York, Dan Goldman beats out Mondaire Jones. Sean Patrick Maloney beats out Alexandria Bridges. You look at Illinois, right outside Chicago, several progressives lost their primary. I'm looking at primaries over the last 10 years. Progressives lose most of their primaries to moderates unless they're in a hard blue state. On top of that, we can look at other hard blue districts that have been rejecting progressive policy. In San Francisco, they voted out Chesa Boudin, who was the guy trying to do bail reform and whatnot, saying that he caused more crime. They kicked him out. Then 2 years later, they passed Prop 47, which repealed Prop 36, which repealed Prop 47, which was their law to a bunch of progressive policies in the law that to decriminalize certain things, try to get rid of cash bail and whatnot. Now they're trying a new cash bail system that would, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but
yeah, they had a big like pendulum swing cracking down on the soft on crime policies or the perceived stuff, which I mean I think even I might have voted for one of those, like, and I'm a progressive, because it was literally like, yeah, just let like shoplifters like with $10 like $1,000 just let them go, which was like this is why you saw people like just leaving their cars open during COVID, which was insane. But I don't know if you could attribute that to progressives, period, especially if these are not things that are being advocated for on the main stage by progressive candidates.
But Tyler's also ignoring what we talked about, like in Soypill. What I agree with is that you can have the super progressive policy, but also like change the way you talk about it and like put your least popular takes on the back burner, right? That like people obviously are going to disagree with, and just like, you know, mostly talk about the things that everyone pretty much agrees with, like
saying trans
cost of everything, like just
saying trans surgery should be free actually pulls horribly, but saying I think all medical care should be free and included in those is going to be trans healthcare is really, really well pulling, and that's not a progressive shift. That's just a messaging change.
Yes, you can obfuscate, you can message disingenuously all you want, but eventually
that's not disingenuous. That's truth.
It's not disingenuous.
Yes, it's obfuscation to take your unpopular policy and bury them in the back and just not talk about them.
The point is, Tyler,
it's disingenuous.
No, so Tyler, wait, can I clarify this, Gibbs? Because Tyler, the point is not, hey, my main policy is trans people, and that's the constituency I'm reaching out to. The reason they were speaking on those policies is because that is the forefront of the progressive movement of, hey, trans people are like, you know, this hot topic we need to be talking about and signaling to our base that we're with this, you know, pro-progressive movement. And now they're seeing that is not working as messaging. It's not lying to say, well, I'm not going to hyper focus on that. It's, hey, I'm going to do policies that are going to help trans people. I'm just not going to specifically call them a trans policy because it's not one. They're just part of a group that's going to be helped by this.
Let me ask
you have people showing up at your rallies like AOC yelling, why don't you call it a genocide over and over and over again, because they're not messaging in the way that they want.
Let me ask this just for fun.
This is what they're doing now.
Hold on, let me just you know, the advocate here, Soypill. Let me just ask you this. So say I was going to present a bill, and we're going to call it, it's going to be the Gibbs self-defense bill. And I want to give everybody the right to defend themselves within the power they see fit necessary, right?
Right.
So that on the surface, that sounds like, oh, they can own any guns, right? But in the background, that actually means I can now buy a howitzer or a Patriot missile system or like
hell yeah, brother.
I think Gibbs, I think the better analogy would be you say I want this self-defense bill, and you're like, I want everyone to be able to defend their house, and then I'm the reporter, I'm like, Gibbs, do you want trans people to be able to defend their house? And you'd be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, oh, so you're pro-trans self-defense?
No, it would be like, oh, Gibbs, oh, you want everybody to defend your house? And then you turn around, I go, yes. And then they go, do you want everybody to be able to own a nuke? And I go, yes. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the analogy I'm trying to make. Like,
right. So, and what you're going to see happen is,
I know we all do need a C-Wiz for our front lawn.
Well, to be clear, I asked like Rokana, for example, this question. I said, like, how do you like promote these things that are not hyper focused on an identity group, but still not push them aside? And he's like, look, like if someone asks me, should, you know, trans people get healthcare, that he's just going to say, yeah, I think everyone should get healthcare. And that's just a much better resounding message than, you know, someone going out there and talking about, you know, a very specific marginalized group the entire time, because that signals to people, oh, what about me? That's unfortunately got to dumb it down and make it a more shotgun approach.
That's what Kamala Harris did, though. When she was asked about
she had like 3 months, and like you said, there are 10 years of her saying pro-trans things, and that's what's going to get blasted in the like super hyper paid for Trump ads.
But when she went into, they asked her, what about men or trans women in women's space? And what her answer was I'm going to follow the law. And that she didn't answer the question directly. People on one side said, look, she's not even talking about these issues as much as she's supposed to be. And then the other side said she's still for them. She never denounced them. So it's just taking them, it's not answering the question. It's hiding the answer. It's disingenuous. It's literally what disingenuous is.
Well, I
It's
don't.
obfuscating.
That's also not what I'm advocating for. Saying I'm going to follow the law is okay. Well, that's ambiguous. You're not actually giving position. Versus,
Yeah.
hey, I think that these people deserve respect just like everyone else is probably what people are going to be shifting to. And like how that pans out legally and what policy, it'll depend on which thing they're talking about. But clearly, whatever Kamala did, she only had a couple months to scrap together some sort of like, how do I appeal to the most people in just 8 weeks or however many, 107 days? Like, it's kind of a different ball game. Now they've got 3 years to figure it out. So
I feel like she would have won if she only had 50 days. It was her talking that ruined it for her.
That actually, unironically, might be the one thing I agree with you with, especially giving the polling like right after they announced her.
Fantastic rollout. Everything else when that was done. But
Well,
no, I'm just looking at all these fucking progressives have been trying and losing to moderate. And like these are all purple districts, purple states. Unless you just want to hold down blue states, lock down blue states with progressive and have a minority in the Senate and House.
Let me ask this, all right? Because to the people that are more left than you here, so I gave y'all my prescriptions, right? And y'all are sitting here going, no, we want the more progressives. I was like, okay, how do you see the pathway to victory? Do you see the pathway to victory being we need to rally the like these people are going to be more likely to vote, the ones that are left, and we can get a large enough percentage of these people to vote, or is it like what Tyler? I know Tyler and I've seen others present. Oh, is we need to move more to the middle, and we need to get these people that like are independents, yada yada. How do you see the pathway to victory working? Because Tyler's saying you're not going to win these other states, right?
Well,
so what do you think is the pathway then?
I need to clarify, Gibbs, because first of all, I don't know about Socrates, and maybe Jonah has a different. I mean, just because you work for Progressive Victory, might be a little more progressive than me. But I'm not saying we need to move more progressive. In fact, what I'm saying about this messaging stuff is actually what is going to be perceived as a rightward shift, even if the policies are not moving rightward. So it's not necessarily some sort of, hey, we need to be more like Bernie. As much as I'm a Bernie supporter, yeah, clearly he's not doing as well in some of these purple areas. He didn't even win the primary. It's more of how do we change this messaging to be more encompassing to more voters? It's making it a little more populist because it's either countering the Trump populism or disambiguating the whole like identity politics thing that doesn't play as well in certain places. But that's not moving more progressive necessarily, even if they are on a shift to be more progressive. Also, I have to go in 5 minutes, so I don't know when we're wrapping up.
Oh yeah, we're wrapping up right now. Actually, like let's give out closing.
Yeah, we're a little long. I think, yeah,
we're not long.
Yeah,
I mean 7:30 to 9:30 is 2 hours, but
Let me just ask a quick question. Would you guys rather have Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema or a minority in the Senate if you just have that binary?
The first one, obviously.
Yeah, well.
Exactly. So you need moderate.
Yeah, no shit. I don't think anyone. I'm sorry. Wait, nobody is saying that we don't need moderates, especially in Congress and purple districts and purple states. Like no shit. Obviously, I think for presidency, it's different in that you can have the vibes of like a populist left-wing person, and that like won't necessarily hurt you as much as like a like boring centrist like would hurt you. Like someone who's like, say, Josh Shapiro is like turns out like Ron DeSantis, but he's just like super boring, no riz, no like, but like a great centrist, really productive guy and really well liked in his state. Doesn't fucking matter if you don't have the riz, if you don't have the people, like the young people that get behind you, and like the people who don't pay attention to politics to get behind you, then it doesn't matter. So you can have someone who has the like it factor, the riz to like actually get people caring, the people who don't pay attention to politics, and that person can have left-wing populism as like their value and still be super progressive. And it won't matter. It won't turn off more people than it will appeal to.
It's true.
Let's just go ahead and give closings here since we got like 4 minutes left. Go ahead and closing thoughts and where to find your stuff. We can start with you, Jonah, since you just went here. Any final thoughts on that and where to find you and whatnot? Nope.
I think he just like disconnected the very end.
No, I'm back. I'm back.
You can't go
yeah. Did you want to give any final thoughts on where to find you and whatnot?
Yeah, sure. I'm not a content creator. I just do this for fun. But no, I think I listened to most of it before joining in. I think you guys surprisingly had some good takes on this kind of stuff. But yeah, basically people are waiting to see what Dems do, and I personally, as someone who did a lot of campaign fundraising, am not super worried about the current state of things. I would be worried if we got close to the election and it was still massive gaps between the fundraising. But I think overanalyzing it right now. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Soy Pill next. Go ahead.
Yeah. Jonah was feeding me talking points this entire time. I have no will of my own. I'm a progressive victory shill, which is directly funded by George Soros, and I love all the Jewish money that comes down. That's why there's no money in the DNC. No, obviously, I do think people need to shift away from certain policies. Unfortunately, that's going to be perceived as a right-wing shift. I just want to reach out to all my handy-dandy woke progressives and say, guys, don't worry. They don't not love you anymore. They just know they got to appeal to more people, and they did a really bad job of it in 2024. So you're going to see, I'm not worried about the funding, but you are going to see people start mentioning marginalized people a lot less because they want to appeal to more people, which is in the long run going to be a good thing because everyone will get more stuff. So I'm the Soy Pill. I make videos. Check me out.
All right, thank you so much, Socrates.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for having me on this. And anybody who wants to chat more about this, like one-on-one, feel free to take me up. You can reach me at Socrates TV at Twitch, Real Socrates on YouTube. So there's an issue that I have a lot of the time, and it's really not your guys' fault that you're a little tripped up on this, because I would blame a lot of like online lefties. This kind of idea that like being further left means you just say more and more stupid kind of lefty sounding stuff, right?
Like
and that's what
Palestine.
being more left. No, I mean that's a reasonable thing, but like the things that Mamdani pushed forward and ran on are lefty policies, and here's what they are. You can't afford rent. You need to pay rent. Everybody's stressed about rent every single month. How do you get to your work? You take the bus. The buses don't come. We need the buses to come. Where do you stop by on your way home from work? The grocery store. You can't afford groceries. We need to lower the cost of groceries. What are you doing? Like, what's happening while you're away? You're paying for childcare. Childcare is unaffordable. We need to lower the cost of childcare. These are really, really basic things that everybody deals with. Not everybody has kids, right? Or everybody takes the bus, but in a metropolis, a lot of people take the bus. But these are things that people deal with constantly in their lives that are really, really, really impactful. And these are lefty solutions to say, some of these things, we're going to create some kind of public option. To do that, maybe we need to tax people who have more than enough money. Maybe that's a crazy thing to do, but people seem to like it. And people of all stripes seem to like it. You don't have to be some crazy screaming at libs of TikTok X account who's some online lefty to like that stuff. You don't have to be biggest free Palestine person in the world to like that, but those are things that are lefty and they're really, really popular. And this idea that it's not lefty enough because you're not screaming at somebody or you're not like woke scolding whatever, that just needs to die. Thank you.
All right.
Gibbs, I got to bounce. Sorry, I can't hear everyone, but I'll watch it
yeah.
in the waters. Bye, guys.
You have a good one.